This is the Vision 79 podcast, where myself, Mason, and my friend Sander discuss recent developments in our business and personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sander's is 40, mine is 39, and we have similar ambition to progress in our business and personal growth. Many successful people have started small just like us, but very few of them have documented their early years. They often say they wish they had, and given we believe in learning lessons from others, we intend to be the first to document our journey from start to finish. This is simply a documentary of our lives, and as such, we do not monetize these videos, so enjoy the ad-free content. Each episode is broken down into 3 segments, each covering our progress over the past week. We start by discussing our life updates, then our business updates, and lastly, we share any lessons we've learned over the past week. We have timestamps in the description to navigate these sections easily. Today is November 10th, 2025, and we're recording episode 85. Do you like that little addition at the end there?
Mhm.
I decided to add that because I realized that in the future, if YouTube is ever like taken down or something, or you're scrolling back, sometimes it just shows like the year and not like the publishing date specifically.
Yeah,
But I also keep all of the written scripts, so you can easily navigate in our Google Drive now by just searching for dates.
cool.
So what do you have for life this week?
Life this week, the only thing I got was the Universal trip we did
Mm-hmm.
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Universal.
Yep.
Thank you to your dad for getting all those tickets. Sammy and I, and then you and Grace,
Yeah.
and your mom and dad
Mhm.
went all together. Had a bunch of fun. Did some exploring in Harry Potter Land,
Mhm.
and what else? Mostly Harry Potter Land, Egypt.
Yeah, I learned a lot about how the theme parks are laid out. I had been before,
Mhm.
but I was younger and not really interested. Um, and this time I was interested from like like a not an analytical perspective, but like an engineering, like how does it all work perspective.
Yeah.
Um, and I learned some cool things. The central hub for the like 3 or 4 different parks is like a shopping center, which I think is interesting because then you can it's kind of like forcing people to walk past the Oreos to get to the actual groceries you're there to buy. Maybe you'll pick up an Oreo on the way. So if you're walking through a shopping district to get to the rides you want to go to, you're more likely to buy, right?
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, we walked around a bunch. I don't ride any rides, but the people who wanted to ride rides rode rides.
I thought it was interesting, like looking at the wand part with the
Interact.
Universal Studios. Yeah, the wand stuff was cool there, but Universal Studios side specifically,
Mhm.
if you looked at like the decor and stuff, this is something I noticed, especially on the train going back.
Mhm.
Um, like it looks worn, and it's not just like unkept. Like it's
Yeah.
actually designed to look warm. Like the vents
Mhm.
in like the cabin of the train have like pretend rust around them,
Yeah.
or like the little badges have like a dust or like a wear pattern
Or
underneath
like
that. Like
dents.
all
Yeah.
the edges, like every single aspect was like really, really detailed.
It's like patina
Hmm.
in cars.
Yeah, but it was done in such a way that it wasn't just like slapped on patina. It was like very subtle, like slight patina.
Yeah.
And then like if you got to the uh, Islands of Adventure side,
Mhm.
the station looked a lot more perfected, which was interesting. Like the Universal Studios side
Mhm.
train station was a little bit more grungy.
Mm.
And then the Islands of Adventure side, like all of the walls were like a little bit cleaner. It was more like
Oh,
Magic Land style feeling.
I wonder if that's on purpose because
Yeah.
the way it's meant to be is in Harry Potter, they go from London to
Yeah. I
Hogwarts.
think it is on purpose.
Yeah, and so they must make the Universal Studios side look like the real London like, train
Right.
station, which is all disgusting, and then you go to, like, the
Yeah.
Wizarding World, and it's, like, all clean.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I noticed. Those little details were really interesting. Even like I was looking at the train itself
Mhm.
because at first I thought it was like just like train they painted, but they had like wear or like just like age marks underneath the doors too,
Yeah.
like little like streaks, and then the top of it was painted. You could It wasn't just painted like gloss or black paint. Like it
Right.
was actually like textured in a way that made it look worn.
Right.
Um So subtle stuff like that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then also something I noticed too was the music. There was different music playing in like each different section,
Hmm.
but they had the audio structured in such a way that it didn't bleed from
Yeah.
one to the other,
Yeah.
which was really interesting. And I don't know quite how they did that. I think part of it has to do with like volume, and a lot of it probably with positioning.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I think because if you were to design one of those things, there's probably three different variables you could use, right? It's direction, where you're pointing the sound, it's volume, how loud it is, and then it's what insulators could you put strategically between, like as you're walking around a corridor,
yeah,
like you walk around one corner and then you don't hear the last speaker and you hear the next one, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was super.
and like going on doing any of the rides, even the train ride, like the way the audio was played, like like they had like pans in the audio. Like also what was really interesting going on the ride specifically was like you see something happening in front of you, like potentially in 3D or whatever. But like especially in the 3D ones where you had like the glasses on,
Hmm.
like everyone is seeing that same thing at that moment,
Hmm.
right? And so it's like how do you make it so that, like, I see the same thing as the person who's 15 feet to the right of me?
Right.
Like, that's really interesting too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool in that respect for sure. The Fast and Furious section was really neat. Like, it was very, like, downtown California, like,
Hmm.
grunge, like,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
Um, and Sammy was asking me about all the car parts and stuff, so that was fun.
But they were
Uh
real car parts.
They
That's
actually
cool.
were.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So they had, like, real, like, front bumpers, real motors, real transmissions,
Cool.
like, actual stuff. And even, like, they had, like, a display of, like, a warehouse style,
Hmm.
and they had boxes, and they weren't just, like, boxes stacked up, like, they actually had I don't even think they were crushed. They had just, like if they looked like they could have been potentially really crushed, but they were, like, slightly damaged,
Hmm.
and they were it was clear it was on purpose.
Right.
And so that was I thought it was really cool. The display setup and like the attention to detail was really neat.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that aspect of it.
They do, all the animatronics were really impressive too, like the goblins in the
Yeah.
bank and dude, the Velocicoaster, there's a portion where you walk through. They've got s static display stuff, which is cool, but there's a bit where you walk through where there's, like, a velociraptor head, like, in a cage. It's,
Mm,
like, moving around and, like, its eyes are moving and it's breathing and stuff. It's super fucking cool.
yeah.
It looks realistic. Um but yeah, the attention to detail in those parks in particular are really cool. It's interesting to compare the attention to detail from Universal to Disney
Mm,
because the attention to detail in Disney is like leaving Easter eggs for people around. It's like everything's like clean and well kept, and then there's like little Mickey Mouse symbols everywhere,
yeah.
right? And so they'll have like, I don't know, like hieroglyphics etched into like the greebling on one of the buildings that is like Shrek or something like I don't know Disney, but
Yeah.
it's like a different type of immersion than Universal, where Universal wants to make you feel like you're in a real place
Yeah.
that would have that level of detail included.
Yeah. The lighting was really neat too. Like in the
Yeah.
Harry Potter land with the lights, the blue lights with
On the roofs?
the roofs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it made it look like it was cool because they somehow did the lights that it made it look like um there were like almost northern lights coming up over the horizon. Like if
Yeah.
you just stood between the buildings, it was almost felt like northern lights right there,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is really, really neat. It was very cool. I like that. I like that aspect of it a lot.
Dude, the
Um,
forced perspective of everything too. So, like, obviously, the castle isn't that big. It just gets smaller toward the top to make it look further away, right?
mm,
But then even on the shops when you're walking around, none of those buildings are like tall enough to actually be full two-story buildings, right? They just make the upper level windows a little bit smaller so it looks like it's a little bit further away. But when you walk into the shops, if you look up, a lot of them, they're roughly the same height as the ceilings of the room we're in right now, but it's got a balcony as if there's a second story. And there's chairs and stuff up there, but everything's sized down a little bit to make it look like it's a little bit further away and a little bit
mm,
higher. It's really interesting. I would be curious to learn about the math behind the ratios that you can
yeah.
use where if the average person is like 5 feet off the ground on the first floor, how big do you make something 10 feet away to make it look like it's 15 feet away?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
really interesting to me.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, it was cool. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
I thought it was a good time. Um, but yeah, yeah, enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. That was about it for life. That's what I had
That's the whole life.
for.
I thought I
Yeah.
did something else. I can't remember, but
I mean, I didn't go to HSR. Um, fr yeah, Friday I grabbed the tickets from you, and then Wednesday through Thursday I was,
yeah,
or sorry, Monday through Thursday I was working at home.
mostly life up business update then.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, mostly business stuff.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay,
What about you? What you got for life?
so I also went to the Universal Studios event, which was fun.
Mm.
Thanks, Dad. Um, I haven't been to the theme parks in like a really long time because I don't ride rides. So
Mhm.
usually I don't care, but everybody wanted to go, and I don't mind holding people's shit at the end of the ride. So I went. I had fun. Um, the night before that, it's funny because planning my November, my friend has a wedding in a few weeks, also in November. There's Thanksgiving. We're going to this Universal thing. That's like 3 events in November that I have to, like, block out time for, and that's a lot. And so, when my dad brought up or when I brought up to my dad Eggfest from last week, a few weeks ago, I was like, "I don't know if I could do Eggfest because I've got all this other stuff in November." But then the week of Eggfest, I was like, "You know what? I really enjoy this event. I'm gonna stay up late extra these nights and, like, hit these determined goals, and then I'll allow myself to go if I hit those goals." And I did, and I went and I had fun. And then this weekend, I was like, "Okay, cool. I've got my set schedule. I'm gonna run everything like normal. My favorite F1 races this weekend, everything's gonna be fine." And then, like, last second on Friday, you were like, "Daytona's doing this race with
Mhm.
historic cars." And I was like, "Oh, man." It really reminded me of when we first started, when we graduated college and we started working at our jobs,
Yeah.
and, like, we would just wake up on a Monday and be like, "Dude, what if we just took off work today and go racing because the weather's great?" And so, like, I woke up this morning to go to my dentist appointment, and I walked outside, and I was like, "It's a good day to go racing."
It
But,
is. Yeah.
um, I decided that night, I was like, "Okay, if I stay up extra late Friday night, then Saturday night, I can go to the Daytona race, and then Sunday night, I can go to Universal." So the past 3 nights, I've been up until, like, 3,
Mhm.
which is really late for me. Usually, I try to go to sleep around, like, midnight.
Mhm.
So later nights for me, but the Historics race was really fun. Um, the tickets cost more than I thought they would. I think next year I'm gonna try to go a little bit earlier. I ended up going at, like, 8 PM, because we had something else beforehand that we had to do, like work stuff. Um, but I still had a blast. I got to show Grace everything, which is fun because there's no way in hell she'll ever go to the Rolex. It's way too long, there's way too many people, it's way too loud, and it's difficult to leave.
Yeah.
So she's not gonna go to that. But I still got to share, like, "Hey, this is the place that I love to go to, and
Mhm.
here are, like, the cars that," like, they had GT3 cars, there's a DP1 car there, so, like, there's cars that race in the
Yeah.
Rolex there. So I still got to show all those things. Um, so I had a ton of fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's a super cool event. I love it. Um, yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
me
fun.
too. I'd like to go next year a little bit
Yeah.
earlier on,
Me
so
also.
I get more bang for my buck.
Yeah.
Um, a little bit more life update. I had lunch with my buddy Thomas this week. He and I rode together in college. It was good to see him again. And then he inspired me to erg for the first time seriously in a long time.
Mm.
Not that he told me to. We actually talked about how neither of us have rode in a long time. But
Yeah.
then later on that day, I thought about it and I was like, I haven't rode in a long time. Like I should just try it. And so I got on the erg and I did better than I thought I would do. I had erged like once after college, like a year ago or two
Mhm.
years ago, but it's been a while since I've sat down and tried to do it seriously. Um, it was a humbling experience. I'm like way less flexible and like way out of shape. And like I can feel my form is I know what it feels like to think that you have good form, but you actually don't have good form. And I had that feeling while I was rowing and I was like,
Mm.
fuck, dude, I'm so out of it. I'm so out of shape.
Yeah.
Um, but it was still fun to like hop on and try it. So maybe
Yeah.
I'll start stretching a little more and doing it a little more often.
It's you'll come back to it quicker though.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
with racing too, like anytime I hop back in, I'm like, fuck, like I know I'm rusty. Like I can still do well. But like I just know that like I know that I'm rusty.
Yeah.
But I know that like if I sat in a I know that if I sat in a cart for 2 weeks every day, like I would get probably 90% back
Yeah.
ish. And then I think if I sat in a cart for like a month or 2 months, I would be like within 3% of where I was at,
Yeah.
or close. You know.
It's interesting because with both karting and rowing, it's you know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know exactly where to turn the steering wheel and how fast to turn the steering wheel. And I know exactly where to lift and where to brake. And with rowing, I know exactly where to lift my hands. I know exactly when to open my back. But getting your body to actually do it is really interesting.
Yeah.
That's the difficult part. Is your mind knows and your mind is controlling your body, so there should be a seamless connection there, but there isn't.
Mm.
Um, and that it's been a long time. I mean, toward the end of my rowing career, I had complete control over like my style of rowing and what I was doing. So like I could make very small manipulations intentionally, like when you're really, dialed into karting and you can make adjustments on the fly, right? Um, but now it's like, oh fuck, bro, like I'm way out of whack. And I know I'm way out of whack. But it's funny because I was opening my body, like, way too early because I'm not flexible at all.
Mm.
And you've gotta have some level of flex to keep your back at that position. My back is also way weaker. I could feel it, like, between my shoulder blades,
Mm.
which also tells me that I'm opening my back too early because you wanna feel it in your lats, not your shoulder blades.
Mm.
Um, but I could feel I was opening my back too early, which is exactly what, Misha Miroslav Jesenov does, and he teaches kids. He's like, "Oh, you kids give themselves back injuries because they reach too far into the catch," and then he opens his back at the catch, like, right away, and I was opening my back at the catch, and I was like, "I'm giving myself a Misha back injury right now." Um, but it was fun. It was a fun little, like, glimpse into the past that I enjoyed.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll start stretching a little bit more and rowing a little bit more just to, like, kinda keep up with it because I know if I don't do it for, like, genuinely years, then, like, I will after a certain point in time it's tough to, like, bounce back into it if you ever want to bounce back into it, right? Like, if you haven't driven a car, let alone a cart, like, if you haven't done any driving in, like, 5 years, then, like,
Yeah.
you're gonna be really rusty.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do it, like, a little bit here and there. And then my last life update is that I had 1 Red Bull this week,
Oh, wow.
no other caffeine, which is interesting because for the past, like, 2 years, I've had, like, 2 Celsius a day every day religiously, like,
Mhm.
400 milligrams of caffeine every day. And then in the past, like, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was noticing I would drink a Celsius and then I would have, like, very small heart palpitations, and I was like, "I don't like that." So I, like, started to cut it out. And now I can drink a Celsius and I'm totally fine, but I'm like, "Well, I'm now at the point where I'm drinking far less of it. Let's see how far I can go with it." Because A, the less money I can spend, the better, and then B, it's probably not great to be having hundreds of milligrams of caffeine every day, so if I can cut back, that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
So without realizing it, I got to Saturday night at HSR and I was like, dude, I haven't had any caffeine all week. This is fantastic. I don't have a Celsius with me right now.
Mhm.
So I had one on the way home one on the way to HSR because I was like, I'm going to be up late tonight and tomorrow night. I need caffeine. So I had one, but that was it. So
Nice.
that's my life update. Yeah.
Cool, yeah, I really don't have
That's okay.
much life update.
What's your business update then?
Yeah, business update. So right off the bat, I decided to cut the split test because it was
Got it.
statistically evident. Um, the probability of the rebranded site doing better long term than the baseline was 6% versus 94%. So there was a 94% probability that my baseline was going to
Oh
be
my
long
God.
term better.
Dude, I totally forgot to do the last part of my life update.
Oh yeah,
I'm so sorry.
no, you're good. Go for it.
Can I interject with you?
Mhm.
Can I cut you off?
Yeah.
Um, You said 6% to 94%, and I was like, "Those are pretty much the odds right now of Max Verstappen winning the championship."
Oh
And I
yeah.
totally forgot. My last life update is that this weekend was my favorite F1 race of the calendar. They were racing
Yeah.
in Brazil. And this was a big, big weekend for the championship because Max was, like, on a fucking charge. He built back, like, I think, like, 70 points against Oscar Piastri over the last, like, 5 races. Big, big gains, right? Um, but Lando Norris has been, like, bouncing back recently. So it's like, no, it's been up in the air, right? And, like, the whole thing that everyone is talking about is, like, if Max can keep winning races, then he can stay in the championship fight. But if he can't win the races, then he's for sure out. So Brazil is like an
Yeah.
inflection point because last year, Max qualified 12th, got hit with a 5 place grid penalty. So he started 17th. It rained, and then he won from 17th.
Wow.
And Brazil 2024 is one of the all-time greatest drives in all of Formula One history, but particularly for Max, right?
Yeah.
So coming off the heels of 2024. And what's important is that last year, McLaren had the fastest car in the second half of the season. Lando Norris should have won that championship, but he made a lot of small mistakes. And Brazil was where Lando's championship fell apart last year because Lando qualified on pole, Max was P17, slam dunk, big step in the championship, right? But the whole race, Lando was asking his race engineer, like, where's Max? How far, what's the gap to Max? And they're like, he's in P12. Don't worry about it, Lando. Focus on your race. And he's like, I know he's got good pace. I just want to make sure that I'm not like, I'm on the right strategy or whatever. And like the whole race, he was driving scared, right? And then Max won. So that's the setup coming into this year, right? Now, this year, the shoe's on the other foot where Max is chasing for the title, but Max doesn't have the fastest car. Max has the slowest car because through the sprint race was like average. Max got like third, Lando got like first, but they made setup changes in qualifying to try to get the Red Bull to work. And Max qualified on pace 16th. And his teammate was, I think, 19th, if I remember correct. They were the only team with two cars out in Q1. So that statistically shows it's the slowest car on the grid, right? And so Lando's title fight in 2024, Lando has the fastest car and Max is trying to hold him off. Now Lando has the fastest car. Max has arguably one of the slowest cars. And now he's starting 16th, right? And Red Bull made like a big gamble with a setup change going into qualifying off the sprint race to try to get the car to balance out for it to be drivable, and it didn't work. Now they're P16. They decided again to make another big gamble going into the race. They decided to change the setup again and put in a new engine and new engine components, new suspension components and stuff like that. You have a certain number that you could use throughout the year. You can only use like 4 engines. If you use a fifth, then you have to take a grid penalty. Normally it's a 10-place grid penalty, but since Max is starting from P16, the 10-place grid penalty turns into a pit lane start. So if you're going to take your 10-place grid penalty anywhere, take it here. A, because you can pass in Brazil. B, because Max is insane in Brazil. And then C, because he's already starting P16, right? So he takes his penalty and he does this formation lap, which is not under power. You're not even really warming your tires up a lot because you're just going to go back to sitting on the grid, right? But in that one formation lap, he parked the car and got out, and people were interviewing him, and they were like, dude, what do you think? He was like, felt better on the formation lap than qualifying. They were like, really? And he was like, yeah, it's tough to tell on a formation lap because you're not putting any load through the car, but like, I think it's better. And everyone was like, okay. So everyone's like, it's not going to rain. It's a fully dry race.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough for Max to make it work, especially because the McLaren's so good on their tires. And Max, in like the first 5 laps, Max was up from the pit lane to like P13, like the first 5 laps. Then he got a tire puncture and he had to do another pit stop. So he fell back down to like P16, but he worked back through the race until at one point he was leading the race when they were offset on their pit strategies.
Wow.
And then Max did his last pit stop and he overtook for third with like 10 laps to go. And he was on soft tires hunting down Kimi Antonelli, my other favorite driver, in P2. And he was up Kimi's ass with more pace the last 3 laps. And Kimi held him off.
Wow.
And it finished Lando, Kimi, Max. Lando finished like 10 seconds ahead of Kimi and Max. But pit lane start to P3 is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Max is now the driver with the most podiums from the most starting grid positions, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So he has started a race in all but I think 3 positions. He hasn't done it from P11, 12, 13, or 19 yet, so 4. Every other grid position, he has wound up on the podium at the end of a race, which is crazy. And Kimi got his best race finish ever in P2. Now Kimi is the highest scoring rookie of all time.
Oh, cool.
Lewis Hamilton and who's the other guy? Gilles Villeneuve are technically the highest scoring rookies if you adjust the point scoring system, because now you get more points for a race win. But on actual like counted points, Kimi is now number 1, which is a fun stat too. And now it's like people really don't know where the championship is going to go because Lando has like a 41 point lead over Max, 49. I can't remember where it is. He's got a big lead over Max. It's like pretty much insurmountable, but everyone was expecting Max to maybe finish like P8, and he finished on the podium, which is fucking crazy drive. So at the end, everyone was booing Lando because right after the race finished, Lando, who won by 10 seconds, was like, oh yeah, good job, guys. We didn't win by as much as I would like though. So let's like, review the car and see where we can find more pace because that wasn't really comfortable for me. And everyone's like, yo, dude, you have the best car on the grid. You won by 10 seconds. Can you shut up? Just be grateful
Yeah.
for 10 seconds. So people booed him on the podium. They cheered really loud for Max. Then the winning driver gets their national anthem played and the constructors' home country national anthem played. And during Lando Norris's national anthem, the entire crowd was singing Max Verstappen's theme song the whole
Whoa,
time. Dude,
that's wild.
people fucking hate him. It's fucking crazy, dude. Yeah.
Wow,
Um,
that's wild.
I try to stay pretty balanced throughout like most of my life with being like, oh, you can't truly hate someone until you understand them, right? But with
Yeah.
sports, I let it get away with from me a little bit, and I get emotional about it.
Mm.
Like, bro, fuck Lando Norris. I'm so excited for like to see the rest of this championship. I hope Max can do it, but like it is statistically, if you bet $10 on Polymarket on Max winning, you win $250. That's how unlikely it is. It's a 25x. And
Wow.
I'm not putting money on Max to win, but anyways, it's an unlikely statistic, much like your split test working out. That's what sparked the memory. Please,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, you're good.
Please continue with your business update now that I've finished interrupting you.
You're good.
Okay.
But it was only a 6% chance that it would ever become better than the baseline, and even then, it had a box of whisker plot too that I was looking at. The worst probability, the worst probability for the baseline was above average for the rebranded.
The worst probably.
So as worse as the baseline would probably ever do was still above the average mark for what the rebranded would predictably do.
So even at the old one's worst, it's doing better than the average of the new ones.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for a metric breakdown, conversion rate, negative 23%, revenue per visitor, negative 29%, profit per visitor, negative 29%, average order value, negative 8%, add to cart rate, negative 9%, checkout begin rate, negative 17%, abandoned checkout rate, positive 28%.
There's only one positive statistic.
Well, it's still a bad
It's a negative.
though, because it's the rate at which people abandon the checkout.
Right.
So quite literally all red. Also this week I ran the ads from the rebranding person individually in an individual campaign at $100 a day for 3 days. And those had a 0.28 ROAS. So bad. And
Usually you're averaging like 3.
no, right now I'm like 2.
Okay.
Which is like I'm in a scaling protocol right now, so
10x less.
yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And so even in the case, because half the traffic was still being sent to the old site and half to the new site, even in the case that the ads only perform for the new site, you would double 0.28, right? Because that would be, half the traffic, right? And even in that case, it's 0.56. Yeah, 0.56. So it's regardless of how you frame it, they just didn't work. So I turned off the split test after looking at all this data and got an immediate boost in performance. So I am now profitable on the store, or at least as of right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this week was rough. I either I think I pretty much dead broke even, like plus or minus $100.
Gotcha.
So it was tough. It was really hampering my ability to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so I turned off the split tests and immediately got a lift, and then scaled up and had another lift yesterday, and then scaled up again last night, and today is looking good as well.
Okay.
At least so far, knock on wood.
Good.
But so sorry. Long story short, I mean the rebranding just didn't convert.
Right.
It just didn't work.
I'm so shocked.
I think I had a message with the marketing director from Valuetainment. So I have a meeting on the 18th, but I had a quick message back and forth, and she was saying that
Are you supposed to say the company? Is it cool to say the company?
I mean it's yeah, it's a public
Cool.
company.
We had kept our name out and stuff before, so I just want to make sure you weren't slipping up.
Yeah, no.
Cool. Keep going.
It should be fun. So she mentioned the similar things to what I mentioned in putting the video in the first image. And then additionally, this was something I mentioned on the rebranding, was a lot of the images that were on the rebranded site lost a lot of important information.
Mhm.
And the marketing director was saying to put those images with the restyled color aesthetic or whatever back into the rebranded site, like, and keep that information in there because there was a lot of information lost. And that's something I mentioned, and I tried to say, but um I got pushback against it. So I was like, you know what, I'll I can always do it different later.
Right.
Um
Now it's later.
yeah, now it is later. Um but I do have a call with that marketing director on the 18th. So that'll be good. That'll be informative. Talk about that. Um, and I guess I'll do this now because all this other stuff is, yeah. Um, I called the rebranding person,
Mhm.
or I did like a Zoom style video recording for them. I didn't Zoom them live. But I did a Zoom video for them to watch and put everything together, when very basic presentation, sent it to them. Got,
So it's like a screen recording.
yeah, screen
Essentially.
recording. It was like a 10-minute screen recording.
Gotcha.
And, essentially I was like, I can't offer performance-based bonus because there was no performance to offer it by. Um, and so they were like, "Hey, can we call?" And I was like, "Sure." And so they called, and they weren't upset about the bonus at all. Because, like, I mean, it was there was no metric, nothing performed better or was even close to performing better.
Right.
It was like there was I mean, there's no basis to argue about it.
Yeah.
And so, she was apologetic, of course. Um, and it was interesting. Like, it really opened my eyes to, like, how differently some people think. Because she was saying, she was like, she was confident that the images in particular were better on the rebranded site than the current images I had. Very confident in that, which was one of 3 points of feedback that the marketing director told me was not better
Right.
because there was information loss that was important in those images. And she was like, "What if you put the rebranded images on your current site?" And I was like, "No."
You're just gonna tank your.
I was like, "No."
You're gonna tank what's working.
I was like, I can run a future test with adjustments and modifications in order to give it a higher probability of chance, or a higher chance of winning, but it won't happen. I will not just change stuff over, and it won't happen before Q4 is done.
Yeah. Don't mess with what's working.
Yeah, it's like, no. Um, and, like, it was so confusing to me because it was like, in what world do I take something that's working? I have clear evidence that the alternative didn't work, and then I incorporate stuff from the alternative that didn't work into the thing that's working at risk of breaking it, and with no statistical evidence to suggest if it's helping or hurting.
Yeah.
Because she just wanted me to change it.
There's only
Like, no
statistical.
split test, no nothing, just
Right.
change.
Right. There's only statistical evidence pointing that it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, no. Um, it took me like 5 or 10 minutes to wrap my head around, like, what she was saying, because I was like, it was so far removed from, like, any logical train of thought to test something or work through something that. And she was like, "Do other people do these split tests?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like,
How else? Otherwise, you're just gonna tank your business.
I was like,
Imagine if you
every
put brakes on.
every single e-commerce brand I've ever talked to, anytime they make, like, changes like this or of a similar flavor, split test. Like, the really nitty-gritty um e-commerce brands, like, they'll split test, like, font colors. They'll split test, like add to cart color.
Yeah.
Like, they'll, like,
Text style.
really nitty-gritty.
Right.
And then but they have massive volume. They might have, 100 orders a day, and they'll
Right.
test across 1,000 orders,
Right.
and so they'll get, like, a really good solid idea, right? But they having so many orders across their platform that they can,
Yeah. They
it's
can
easy for
afford.
them to do it
Right.
regularly. Um, as like Hormozy, he said, one of the podcasts a while back, you can split test about 23 times a year. So, like, every 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
So it's like, but if you have enough volume,
Right.
you can't do it quick. Like, even with a large volume, it's very hard to do it quicker than that.
Right.
Um, And so, I was like, no, I'm not gonna change the images around. And it was really interesting, because she tried to make the argument that the rebranding didn't work because it was too focused on a, and this is challenging for me to wrap my head around, so I'm probably not going to phrase it well.
It's okay. I'll
Uh,
do my best.
yeah.
I'll lower my IQ. Go for it.
The rebranding didn't work because it was centered around a long-term customer base that associates with the brand and company rather than a rebranding that would convert new customers. So,
Okay. I follow that.
right?
Track.
And so
I don't know the difference, but I'm following.
that's my problem is if I'm a new customer and I go to a site, why do I have to be in the loop, VIP, like on the email marketing and involved with the brand to buy a $55 product? If
Right.
I find something online that I like and it's 55 bucks and I need it and I want it, I buy it.
Right.
I don't sit on their social media for a month and make sure that they align with my views,
Yeah.
right? Like there are potentially some people like that. They want to be affiliated with the brand and this and that and blah 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 blah. Vast majority of online anything is, unless you are like Red Bull, where it's like I buy Red Bull because I think Red Bull's sick.
Well,
And
also,
I like their brand, I like the cool shit they do, I like the stuff they sponsor, but also I didn't start buying Red Bull because of that. I started buying Red Bull because it was available, and then I was like, "Oh, this is, like, kind of cool."
well,
And
also,
then
I think the biggest difference here is that, like, I have a little bit of a contradictory point where I think some people do start buying Red Bull because it gives you wings and they like the
Mhm,
ads, right? Same thing with Puppy Monkey Baby for, I think it was a Monster Energy drink, uh,
mhm,
campaign, right? You see the ad, it's interesting, and then you wanna try the drink, right?
yeah,
Um Or, Alani. So many people recommended Alani to me, I was like, "Okay, I'll try it," right?
yeah,
They've got fun colors on the can, right? I think the biggest difference is how often do you buy Red Bull? Some people buy it every day.
mhm,
How often do you buy a gramophone for kids? Maybe once ever.
once.
Maybe once ever,
Yeah,
right? Maybe twice if you have another kid or you're going to a birthday party, right?
right,
But, like, to build brand recognition, you need customers that are returning. So, like,
yeah,
the kava bars, you don't have to have a ton of informational stuff about what kava and kratom are to get customers to come in because they already are in the loop with the scene.
yeah,
And if someone's new, then they'll ask and someone will explain it. But
yeah,
that's like a if people are back all the time type of thing. But like for a product that you're only gonna buy once, maybe twice, like
yeah. But the thing is that I don't see how focusing on keeping customers long term and building with the customers leads to a site that converts worse, right? Like I don't see how the claim is the site was built for people who are more involved in the brand and more involved in the company.
yeah, I guess I just don't know how
I just don't know how
operationalize that.
that leads to worse conversions overall.
I guess I just don't know how to operationalize that. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it means to build a brand that caters to a long-term customer base
I don't
apart
think it
from
is
making
operationalized
apart
at
from
all.
the all I can think
Yeah.
of is there's less welcome to this world type stuff. One of the reasons people don't like the way Disney is doing Star Wars is because everything that they do, they exposition dump. They explain to the audience what's going on because they want it to be welcoming for new people to the community. But Star Wars fans already know what a lightsaber is. You don't have to explain it to me. I've
Yeah.
been here, right? And so for like Red Bull, it's like you don't have to explain what Red Bull is. It gives you wings. Like I don't need to see the drink. I just need to see a dude jumping that from outer space and then parachuting down to the ocean and scuba diving,
Yeah.
right? Like I already know what's going on. But for so the common theme there is for new audiences, you give a bunch of information to catch them up to speed, and for existing audiences, you give less,
Yeah.
right? Um,
But it's like I mean like early on, like she knew that most of the customers are cold audience.
right.
She knew that most all my sales are generated from ads.
Yeah.
Like these basic premises and frameworks, like to claim that it was built for something else after the fact, it's like either you didn't listen to the directions or you're just covering your ass or just convincing yourself that what you did was not bad.
I'd like to hear why they think that. Is it a position that's defendable or is it cope?
It's, uh, um, I'm sure that they would see it as defendable, but I've tried to get them to operationalize this stuff, like, recently especially, and it's a failed attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's down to, like, it's just the feel, right? And I'm like, "Awesome." You know,
That's the thing is like I think that
yeah. It's like, I feel that it did worse.
feel and vibes. I think that feel and vibes absolutely has a place in marketing
It
and
absolutely
art.
does.
It's
Yeah.
just if you're going to say if we're gonna drag statistics into it, like this website isn't converting because of feel and vibes, we need to start to figure out what the hell is going on with those feel and vibes. So if you were to
Yeah.
ask, a good question would be, okay, cool. Currently, the website is for existing customers. How do we change it to be welcoming to new people? Right? What do you change? What vibes and feel do you change to get there? You don't know what it is. You're going to go do your feels and vibes thing, and then I can see what you changed and operationalize it. But my hunch is that that is not defined for them.
No, and that's, I think the primary thing to increase the feel and vibes for cold audiences that don't know about the product is to add more information that is easily accessible about the product.
Like in the images, the marketing
Like in the
director.
images the marketing director mentioned, and
Yeah.
to suggest to replace images that have core information with images that do not,
Yeah.
it goes directly contradictory to that. And like the part of the claim in her saying that too was like the current baseline website has the vibe and feel and urgency to get you to just buy now.
Hmm.
And I was like, that makes little sense to me. And I was also like, and I also challenged her on it because she was like, your baseline has a lot of urgency. And I was like, what urgency? I was like, what urgency? And she pulled up the template. She accidentally clicked the one that was my a preview for my Black Friday stuff that I was doing, which does have urgency
Right.
because it's Black Friday promo.
It's a limited time offer.
Yeah.
It is urgent.
Limited time offer, best offer we've ever had, price decreases, bundle offers. Like, yes, I would agree with you. That site has urgency, right?
Supposed to.
But I was like, hey, like, as she started talking me through these things, I was like, you're looking at the wrong site. Like, that's not the baseline that was run. And she was like, what's the baseline that was run? And I was like, it's this one. So she clicked that one and she was like, this one still has urgency. And I was like, where? Where? It has I used to a long time ago had a banner that said 40% off ends tonight. I think it said 50% off ends tonight,
Yeah.
right? That has been changed since about June to say 40% off sale. Like, just generally, we have a 40% off sale.
I remember that banner. That's a good banner.
Yeah,
That's good urgency. Yeah.
but the
Opportunity urgency, not pressure urgency.
yeah, but it's not like you need to buy this now, right?
It's an offer.
Yeah, it's an offer. We have a 40% off sale. There's no time limit on it. There's nothing claimed about when it's going to end.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just we have a 40%
There's no
off sale.
countdown ticker.
No countdown. And then I called her out on that and I was like, I have one banner on the site that just claims we have a 40% off offer,
Yeah.
and there is no countdown timer. There is no time limit on it. In fact, for like long-term branded sites, if you work with a meta compliant agency for your ad accounts, that super stable one I have with the percentage fee, that one is, you cannot have that stuff when they go to review it. You're not allowed to, which is part of the reason I had to change it. But I was like, where is the urgency? And then I called her out and I was like, in fact, the rebranded site has a timer. The
Does it
rebrand,
really?
it does.
Does that have to check out?
It does. As a 30-minute timer.
Why?
The offer ends after 30 minutes. That was part of
Design?
that was part of
Or just your idea?
it was what she included. It wasn't working
Okay.
properly, so I got it to work.
Got it. But it's what
That's
you
it.
wanted.
Correct.
It's way more urgency.
Correct.
That's funny. I didn't even know about the timer, but I called out a second ago a timer as an example. That's the
Yeah.
highest. That's the highest urgency that I feel when I'm checking out as a customer is if there's a sale going on. Alex Ramosi was like, "I'm going to sell you this thing during the live event." That's one thing. I can handle that. I have time to think. But if there's a timer ticking down, it's like, okay, fuck. I have like 5 minutes to make a decision and then another 5 minutes to get my credit card info because I don't know where my wallet is.
Yeah.
Like, what if it takes me a long time to type in my shipping address and I don't get it in time? Do I have to start over or do they run out? What's the deal? Like that creates like stress for me, like stressful urgency.
And so I was like, the rebranded had a timer on it.
Right.
The baseline doesn't even have a timer.
Yeah.
Um, and then she went into, well, the buttons and the colors and the feel and the layout of the baseline feel as though they compel you to buy now. And I was like, that has no value to me.
How?
And I was like, and I was like, maybe they do. I was like, I was just like premise.
Wait. Is Mercury in retrograde right now? Because this has a big impact on that.
What's that?
It's a horoscope thing. It's like astrology. It's like I was born in asparagus or whatever. You've seen that meme? It's like that.
Yeah.
If we wait until the lunar cycle rotates and like then Venus is in Mercury's second plane, then maybe the vibes will change.
And so I was like, let's even say that there's some sort of behind the scenes aesthetic field structure that we can't pinpoint that causes people to buy more quickly on the rebranded or on the baseline site.
Yeah.
In what world does taking the rebranded images and putting them on the baseline improve performance?
Yeah.
It's like there is no logic here.
Well, and also give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that the images are better and we put it on the old site that has way too much urgency and has buttons that compel you to buy, right?
Whatever
Those are
that means.
if those are negative things, why would you want to put your beautiful images that don't compel people to buy on that site where people feel
fair point.
under stress, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Was there an upcharge included with that? You can put my images on your current site if you pay me more.
no.
Well, that's good at least.
But yeah, no. And so, after this, I was like, I was working. Like I took this call because they wanted more information.
Right.
And
Yeah, you sent them the Zoom meeting.
yeah, I sent them a 10-minute video walking through this. They just wanted more info, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so then after all this, and essentially me being like, no, I'm not going to modify the baseline to try any of your stuff because I have no evidence and I cannot run a split test during Q4 when I'm running promotional content. Like, just no. Essentially after that point, they went down the train of, this is where it got really interesting. They went down the train of, one thing they said before I get into this was, do you think that the product is oversaturated? And I was like,
How would that if good test?
I work with a mentor who spends $30,000 a day. In the entire history of me running ads, I've spent, I think, about $48,000 now.
Yeah.
After 10 months, okay? So in 10 months, I spent 48 grand. My mentor spends 30,000 a day. In a day and a half, he spends on his product what I have spent over the last 10 months, A, and then B, he did that for over a year on one ad and still converted profitably. So for someone to claim, I was like, it's not oversaturated. The site just didn't work.
Right.
And it's also not oversaturated because my current site still converted.
That's the big kicker for me.
Yeah.
Is that it's it's not oversaturated because there's two sites and one is doing better.
Yes.
So even if it is oversaturated, right? You still get the same number of people going from one to the other. So the saturation is exactly the same.
Yep.
Like the external conditions are identical between the two sites. They're given the same number of people.
Yep.
And the same kinds of people.
And then she was like, well, what if people were used to the baseline and they weren't used to the rebranded and that's why they didn't like the rebranded?
They're not returning
Like,
customers.
it's cold audiences.
Yeah.
It is cold audiences. My return customer rate is 1.5%. Do any of these metrics look like a 1.5% decrease?
Yeah.
No. 29% decrease.
Yeah.
29.
I wonder if that really shows the value in using a marketer that also knows.
Yeah.
Like using a graphic designer
over promise.
Using a graphic designer that understands the statistics of advertising.
Yeah, I learned it. Yeah, I learned a few things through this process for sure. Proof over promise. And I need to be able to work with people who can like work through numbers.
Yes,
and just speak my language for me. Because otherwise it's just challenging for me to work through.
Right. When it doesn't work.
And then so after all this, they were like, you know, they said you're doing everything right. You're working and you're trying to do this stuff. Like you had a good job before this. Why don't you go back to that? And I was like,
Your engineering job?
yeah, yeah. And I was like,
You've lost the plot, lady.
yeah. And I was like, you know, I can't remember what I said. I was kind, not nice. But I was essentially like, you know, I with all due respect, you don't know how I operate, you don't know how I work, and you don't know how I function. And I'm chasing my dreams, and I appreciate your input and feedback, but I'll make my own assessment. Um, and she kept pushing on it. And I was like, you know, you have no I said I was like, you have no fucking idea like how hard I can work, how driven I am for my dreams. Like I have dreams and goals. And she was like, "Why do you work so hard? Why do you sit there?" I was like, "Because when I was a kid, I fucking sat there and I watched other people fucking drive cars I want to. I've watched other families with rich parents go racing after I was forced to quit because we ran out of money. I watched all this shit happen. I worked my ass off in college so that I could get an engineering degree, so that I could get a job, so that I could eventually then get to the point where I could have a business and then go racing. This is a lifelong journey for me. Like I have hit struggles and hurdles, and like family life wasn't always incredibly easy growing up, and like you just have no fucking idea. And ignorance is bliss, and I appreciate your input and feedback, but you have no fucking clue. And I was like, I said it nicer than that, and then she just kept trying to push on it, and I was like, and then she was like, "What if, like, you just, like," and then she tried to make the claim that, like, essentially, like, I just have to give up for a while, stop working on things, and then things will work better because I just need to give things time. And I was like, after all this, I was like, "Do you think," because essentially she was trying to make the claim that all the work I do has no, positive impacts. And I was like, "You know what? Let's say that every
You
single."
have a profitable site. Their site isn't profitable.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was like, let's negate all that. Let's say that every single time I sit down to do work, nothing I do improves anything about the business at all. Let's say that is a factual premise, that every time I sit down to work, nothing improves. Do you think my probability is higher or lower by me doing something or doing nothing to achieving a profitable business? Let's say nothing I do works. Is the probability still higher by me sitting on my ass all day?
Right.
It's like, what is your fucking point?
Yeah.
I was like, it really pissed me off because it was about an hour-long conversation on the rebranding, 30 minutes of dilly-dallying back and forth, and then 30 minutes of her trying to tell me that uh, things aren't ready for me. And I was like, "Are you saying that things just won't work for me?" And she was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And I was like, "Then what the fuck are you saying? What are you saying? What are you trying to verbalize?" Because if you're trying to say that things won't work for me, I appreciate your input and fuck you and I don't care, right? Whatever. If you're trying to say that I have to sit on my ass and just like wait for things to magically fall into place because I'm doing everything right and just nothing is working, then how long do I sit on my ass before things just fall into place? And then on top of it, what is your argument for me not working? It has a higher probability of me having this outcome, right? And so, like, I don't mean to get like, I wanted to document this. That's why I brought this back up. I've worked through this all like personally, but I kind of wanted to like document my
Yeah.
thought process on here. Um, and I was actually way calmer, like talking to her. But and towards the end, I was like, I just don't understand your point. Like I really broke it down. Um, and I don't know why they went that route exactly. I don't know. I don't know what the benefit is, and I don't quite understand their reason for it. And something that really irked me too, and I thought was A, really disrespectful, and B, was really distasteful, was they tried to say that, because they're Christian as well, and they tried to make the claim that, um, God is upset with me, and that's why things aren't working for me.
That's wild.
And
That's a wild
that
claim.
honestly really rubbed me the wrong way. Out of everything, that's actually why I'm, like, upset here, right? And I kinda was, like, 50-50 about talking about it, but it really upset me, um, because, like, I actually do read the Bible every day before I go to bed. Like, that's something I do, and I pray every day, and I go to church every week, and I try to be involved, and I try to learn and understand. It's not always easy because sometimes the things that I read and that I learn or try to understand contradict my way of thinking in life, and then I have to contemplate, right? And so it's not like, this isn't like the golden path to fruitfulness and knowledge and wisdom and understanding, right? And so it's like I go through those hurdles on top of, like, the business stuff because I see it as, like, a personal journey that I want to make, and so I see it as valuable. And so it's like when someone else comes from the outside and assesses my work based on no statistical meaning at all, based on vibes and feelings, claims things that make no sense at all, tells me that I should essentially just give up and settle down before I try to build this business thing, and then then bring God into this. I'm like, dude, like, what? What makes you think that you can better assess my journey through life better than I can assess my journey through life? And then why do very clear things that can be solved through statistics and evidence get thrown out the window here? Why? And she was like basic, and I was like, basic premises still exist.
Yeah.
Let's say God is real, right? I believe that God is real, right? Which, just for the premise of this, right? We can say that, if God is real, do you think that God genuinely looks down on me and says, "I'm so glad he's not working. I'm gonna bless him." Right? Like, is that how, like, is that the framework we want to look at this from? It was so lost to me.
Well, and why would he tell her? He'd tell you.
Right. Right. And
And
it's
that's
like,
one of the fundamental, like, nuts that I can't crack with religion, and part of the reason that I can't, like, get myself to believe in most of it, is that if someone tells me God feels a certain way about you, I'll go, "Well,
yeah,
how do you know?" Because he
yes.
talked to me 10 minutes ago, and so I have more recent information, right?
It,
And, like, I don't even have to believe in God to say that. God told me when you were parking earlier today, he was like, "Bro, Sander has to get to work today." But fucking, like, I'm making that shit up, but, like, if I believed in it, I'm still making that shit up, right? And what's to say that, like,
mm,
that you didn't have a different conversation with God at the same time,
yeah,
right? And it's speaking on behalf of someone else. So it's like me saying, "Your mom would be really upset with you working today." I don't
yeah.
fucking know your mom.
It's
I never spoken to her. I don't know if she actually feels that way, and it's manipulative.
and it's really what part of me frustrated me about it was, like, I am actually on this journey, and it is not always easy, and I do struggle through it. But I do see, even Hermosi, who's not religious, talks about how he agrees with a lot of Christian values at a base premise, right? So he sees value in those values, and I see values in the value too, but it's not always easy to implement them, like forgiveness or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so I'm on this path, and I'm genuinely really trying, and, like, yeah, like, I make mistakes and whatever, and I try to, like, we're all human, right? It's just it's excruciatingly what really frustrated me about it too was, this is primarily why people, like, really irk at the idea of religion, is because
Me.
other people come into their life and claim that they have a better connection with God than they do because of X, Y, and Z. And then they say, now I'm going to impose that onto you through an assessment of my lens.
Right.
Right? And it's like, it's no, like, as soon as it becomes that, like, there are so many variables that come into play, and there's so little, like, unless you have a deep connection with someone, there's so little foundation to no foundation for anyone to make that assessment outside of you and your personal relationship with God or whatever you believe in or whatever you think.
Right.
And it's like, that's what also really upset me about it was like I try to be a really good person every day, and oftentimes I fail, but I do genuinely try. Um, but for to hear someone come in like that, I'm like, it really rubbed me the wrong way because I actively tried to just be a good person and just generally set a good example for the people around me. And I allow them to go through their life journey and live the life that they want to live. That's actually what I try to do because I want people to be able to experience life as they experience it, right? And for me to just have that conversation and then like being told that it won't work, like I don't care. Being told that I should go back to the 9 to 5, like whatever, your opinion's dumb. And maybe I will have to, and whatever. Like it doesn't have any bearing, right?
Right.
And it's like being told that like I should just change out the images, like whatever. I disagree, and I'm not going to do it, and it's my business, so who cares? But being told that uh, I don't have a close enough relationship with God, and that they can assess my life better than I can because I am not good enough, and I'm not only it's not that I should work harder, it's that I should work less in order to achieve that. Like
Yeah, that's
that framework, I'm like, there are so many things about that rub me the wrong way between, is that genuinely how you approach other people in your life? Is that genuinely like, do you think that honestly God existing in this framework, that he would look down upon me and say, "I'm so glad he's not working.
Mhm,
Let me bless him."
mhm.
Like it's like regardless of what people think about Andrew Tate, I really like his framework on God and religion. He doesn't have like a solid like this is the name of God, right?
Mhm.
Or at least in a lot of his social media content, he doesn't. He just talks about like a higher God being like a thing, but that's how he frames himself, right? But he's like, you need to work so hard that you're standing there and you're able to look at God and go, look, I worked harder than everyone else. I put more in than everyone else. I'm working so hard towards this. Help me.
Mhm,
Right? Like that. And I love that framework because it puts you in a framework of I'm going to do everything I possibly can
mhm.
and not just sit back and then ask for things. I'm gonna put myself forward and be like, "Look, I'm so close, help me."
Right.
That's like such a more powerful frame and such a helpful frame rather than just like this broken down like just like, and it's like if I implemented your suggestions, what would I do now?
It's like
What
giving
would I
it's
do
like
now?
giving a homeless man a dollar and then that homeless man buying drugs with it, or that homeless man using that dollar to buy equipment to start a car washing gig,
Mhm,
start making money on the side of the road,
mhm.
right? It's the difference between someone who is gonna ask for help and then squander it, or someone who's gonna ask for help and then promise you that it's gonna be worth. Like, you're not wasting your money giving it to me, right?
Mhm.
But what has always bothered me about speaking on behalf of God and using that is it feels a lot like a cop out to me because if you don't understand something, not you, if a person
No, yeah.
who is religious doesn't understand something, rather than recognizing, I don't understand what's going on here, I don't have any data backing one way or the other. I'd like to find out. Maybe it's too difficult. I don't know if aliens exist. I have no data backing it one way or the other. I have nothing to prove one way or the other,
Right.
but I'm still curious and I'm okay not knowing right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll know one day. Instead of that, they resort to making an assumption on God's behalf,
Yeah.
claiming that they're closer to God because they've read more of his books, so they know what he would want or would be thinking, and then saying God is a miracle and he makes miracles, or God works in mysterious ways. Good things happen, it's a miracle by God. Bad things happen, God works in mysterious ways. It's just a real easy cop out for I don't understand.
Yeah.
And that brings me to why I think she probably brought up the quitting your job thing and then went down this route.
Yeah.
What happens to her in her life if you continue to work at this? You recognize that her work isn't valuable, you go a different direction, and then it works.
Yeah.
And then her work is solidified as being not
Yeah.
valuable, right? If you give up and you go a different direction, Then we don't even think about the fact that her work didn't work. Maybe it would have worked if you put the images in the baseline site. Maybe not. Who knows? We've moved past it, right? So it's beneficial for her ego if you move on to the next thing because then you don't dwell on the fact that her shit didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, yeah, it was just, well, another thing that you brought up a really good point too is another thing that's, like, really foundational to Christianity, and I think, like, anyone who just thinks, right? Like, there are some people who just, like, go through life and, bless them, but they don't think, at all, right? You just coast through, but for anyone who thinks, like, and especially the more you work on things, the more you realize that you don't know anything,
Mhm.
right? Like, I go through this advertisement process, and I continue to work through it and work through it and work through it, and I think I know, and I think I'm good, and then I realize I don't know, and then I know a little bit more, and I have some little bits to suggest that I do know more, but it's still not good enough, right? And, like, you go through this process, and the more you go through it, the more you realize you don't know. And it's like, that's something that really stood out about this situation to me was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know if the Black Friday stuff I'm gonna do is gonna work. I don't know if I'm gonna have to get another job. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know these things. And I also don't know a lot about my business, but as I continue to work on it, I learn more about it. And the idea that um they know more about it and my assessment of life and are not willing to change their framework because they believe that they know it,
Mhm.
to me suggests an inherently, like, it is an anti-critical thinking values.
Yeah.
Like, well, in the process of critical thinking, you learn to understand that you don't know very much, right? And so it's like that feels contradictory to me, and I think it is in a literal sense too. But like that really frustrated me.
Didn't they kill Galileo because he had scientific evidence that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, and that conflicted with their worldviews, and God would be upset with him for spewing that nonsense, and so they killed him?
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Great example.
it's
Not that you're Galileo, but
right. No, but it's like people are flawed, and people think in flawed ways, and regardless of your perspective on religion, like, we have good assessments and we have bad assessments, and to claim that every single one of our assessments is either correct or incorrect is completely negating the fact that we make mistakes.
mm,
And I think that goes for pretty much any frame that you look at, whether religious frame or non-religious frame. Like, we will all make mistakes,
mhm,
right? And that's part of, like, the reason, like, for the religious perspective, particularly, like, people say have a personal relationship with God. It's not have a personal relationship with your friend who will talk to God for you.
right,
It's no, form a personal relationship with God, right? And so, like, that is fundamentally part of the reason is because, like, people are flawed, you
right.
know. Um and so it was really fascinating to me, and frankly, it was the work stuff didn't bother me that much. The like that stuff, like, whatever. But the reason I'm, like, really riled up about it now was because the God thing got brought into it,
Yeah.
and I was like, dude, like, why? Like like that is what really irked me. I was like, that's screwed up.
Well,
That's screwed up.
it's because the first chunk of it you can chalk up to you live your life in a way that I don't prefer.
Exactly.
But when they come in and they try to impart a judgment on you, it's like when someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, your girlfriend's only with you because of your money," right?
Mm,
And it's like you don't know her and you can't speak for her, right? The only difference is that I can go home and ask her, but I can't go home and ask God, you know, as directly as you can your girlfriend, right?
for sure.
Um, like, you can't dispute that. Like, if my girlfriend is standing here in front of us, she can tell us one thing or the other and tell us if it's the truth. But, like, if we each have an invisible telecommunication power to my girlfriend, then it's my word versus yours, right?
Yeah,
And you're working on the honor system, and most people aren't honorable, right?
yeah.
Or maybe she genuinely thinks that because maybe
I
her
think she
perspective of
does.
that, and that's just the best way of applying, like, hey, like, you are living your life in a way that I wouldn't prefer, and I'm living my life in a way that you wouldn't prefer, but leave God out of it. Your God might want that, but my God doesn't. Like, who are you to tell me that?
It's like I just don't understand how, like, there are fundamental things that we do or don't do in order to uh increase or decrease our probability of reaching certain goals.
Hmm.
And if you're religious, you believe that, like, there's a lot of complexity to the religious side of it, but it's like to bring God into it from the framework of you just need to give up. Like do you really sit at home and believe that God wants, if God is real, right, in this framework, that God wants his people to give up? Like, is
Right.
that the frame you work through life? Like,
Yeah.
really? And it's like,
Well, it could
if
be. It could be because if you do follow that frame, then your shit's not going to work, like the rebranding site. So that
yeah,
could be the way that they approach life. I don't know.
it could be. It's just very different from how I approach life and religion and these things tied together, and
Yeah.
there's complexity interwoven into it, right? But that was it. It rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
It really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And something that, like, I noticed too was like it was like it just like it impacted my head, and it was just like it wasn't like a her saying that didn't have like an internal like contemplation feeling, like, man, I need to sit on this, like, maybe she's right. It had a like head, like, tampering, just like anger feeling of like just like someone poking at my head with these little thoughts. It wasn't like a let me sit back and contemplate this kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, to me, that also like thankfully I watched a really good, actually, Layla Hormozy podcast this week, which talked about like managing challenging situations with, like, arguments and stuff like that. Really, really nice podcast.
Right.
And so, thankfully, I'd watched that this week, and so I went into that conversation with like, let me try to apply what I learned, right? And so that helped me. But
Well, it's tough, and the reason I think one of the reasons that religion is so popular and such a frequent form of debate is because you cannot prove 95% of it. And so it's just exposition about like like the reason that you feel like it might be one thing or feel that it might be the other. So there's so much ambiguity around it that you can have conversation. And so when it comes down to what God wants from you, it's not as simple as someone saying, "I like your purple hair," and then you go, "I don't have purple hair. What are you talking about?" And you just immediately dismiss it because you don't have he's not standing in front of you to prove it one way or the other, right?
yeah,
And like the whole philosophy of God is that he's supposed to speak through you or to you, and so
yeah,
then you speak on his behalf and act on his behalf to other people in
yeah,
accordance to what he says. And so it's all in your head, and it's all in everybody's heads, and it's all a little bit different in everybody's heads. And so when it comes down to someone saying, "Oh, like we both listened to the same podcast, but they told me something different about you," that's weird. It's like
yeah,
what I was thinking about is, do you remember the interview that Elon Musk did where he was talking about how Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin reprimanded him for SpaceX and they said that he would never be successful and that he's a
yeah,
person, and he started crying because those are his idols, right?
yeah,
He has to suffer his version of God actually telling you should never work again and you should
mhm,
lay back and wait for good things to happen,
yeah, yeah,
right? He had his idols actually tell him no, right? But Ayrton Senna is dead. So you can take whatever narrative that you think he would have thought about you and then apply it
yeah,
to your advantage. And anybody who says anything otherwise, it doesn't serve you, and so don't take it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If it helps you to think, Kimi Antonelli went to Ayrton Senna's grave before the race this
yeah,
weekend, and did like a photo op, like he like gave him like a pin or like a flower or something like that, right? But then he went back later without the cameras to have like his own moment there, right? Maybe the ghost of Ayrton Senna spoke to him and, like, inspired him. Maybe Ayrton Senna possessed him to drive to get his highest finish in Formula 1 so far at the race on Sunday, right?
mhm,
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it didn't, but maybe he thought that it did, and that's why he was able to do those great things, but, like, certainly, if he left that grave and someone me, who's also never met Ayrton Senna, went, "Oh, dude, I think he would probably be really disappointed in you for not having your first win yet." How does that help you at all?
yeah,
He's not around to say one way or the other, and it's not helpful, and it doesn't help you toward your goals. That's the thing, right? If
yeah,
my goal is Kimi Antonelli not podiuming or not winning, then I'm going to tell him that. But if his goal is to get on the podium and to win, then just take the narrative that suits you best. And the best part about someone not being around to tell you one way or the other is you can make it up. Just make up whatever helps you.
yeah,
Michael Jordan has this fucking awesome story about how one time, they were I think I might be misremembering it, but I'm gonna use the version that suits me best because 'cause I'm just making shit up. they were going into the playoffs. So at the end of each basketball season, the top two teams play 7 games against each other, and the winner wins the Super Bowl of basketball, right? Um, and uh, in the first game, Michael Jordan, uh, they lost, and he went back to his team, and he was like, "Hey, this guy on the other team like said some real personal shit, and like on the court, he was like shit talking me really heavy, and I fucking hate him. Let's go fucking get him." So then he worked really hard, and they like beat him in the rest of the games, right? And then at the end of the season, they were like, "Oh, Michael Jordan, like, do you remember that thing that that guy said in game one?" And Michael Jordan was like, "He never said anything. I just made that up." I just made it up to motivate me to work harder and motivate everyone else to work harder. And it's like, oh, he made shit up about a real person that was on the court, that was alive and living and present to tell that that didn't happen. He
Yeah.
still made shit up to serve his goals.
Yeah.
And to use God in the opposite way, I think is very like disingenuous because you're using a narrative that someone believes against what their goals are.
I found it pretty insulting.
Yeah.
Um, Especially after the amount of money that I'd spent on this and the concrete feedback being just take the rebranded stuff and insert it into a site that's working, or give up, or you're not living your life right.
Yeah.
I was like, money well spent to learn that lesson.
Well, every opposition
Yes.
that you
Right.
overcame in that conversation, she had to come up with something different, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
every time.
flip the
When she
images. So
looked
it's
at the
data
Black
was
Friday site, she said it had too much urgency. And then when I showed her the one that had no urgency on it, she still claimed that it was urgent.
right. And she had nothing to back it up. And so then she pounded into you should just quit. And then when you said I'm not going to, she pivoted into, well, you should because God said so,
Yes. Yeah. And
which is a weak argument.
it just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I agree. I hear you. But to recap a little bit more, it seems as though the account spend issue that I had is resolved.
Got it.
And I appreciate the feedback too. Talking through that. Sorry, I just like barged into
Thank you,
the.
dude.
I was trying to run through it so that you could get to yours too.
No, never.
Um,
I'm not
but
doing
yeah,
work today, so I'm easy going.
yeah, cool. That's good. But yeah, so the account seems to be doing well. I'm scaling up. I'm hoping that, spend issues don't occur. That'd be cool. I released some new static advertisements this week targeted towards very specific avatars and desires. Um and they were very catered kind of niche advertisements. Um and they seem to be spending better. One of them got up to like $10 a day, which is pretty good for me.
It's
The rest
pretty.
of the time, like in that main campaign, it'll spend maybe $1.50, $2.
That's 10x. That's great.
Yeah,
5x.
yeah, 10x it.
Yeah.
So they seem to be at least have some more legs to them. This kind of niching down aspect of it. So I think that I'll make some more like that. And also make some video versions of the ones that do best
Cool.
and continue to pump those out. Um, so yeah, just continue to write more ads that go deeper into the avatar, and kind of like kind of that niche persona.
Yeah.
And then additionally, also launching Black Friday stuff soon. Working on ads and offer right now. I can't decrease the price on the single one because the margins are just too close.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to incentivize people to buy bundles by decreasing pricing on bundles
Yeah.
and running specific offers catered to those.
Yeah.
And also incorporating some of those like digital booklet content
Right.
as well, which I've cleaned up the graphics a little bit since I sent them to you and stuff like that. Made it
I wonder.
easier to read.
I wonder if you could put in the ad, in the like headline somewhere, like "Don't wait too late to buy your Christmas gift" or something like that, to get people to think like, "Oh, you're gonna have to buy your niece or nephew a Christmas gift in a month. Don't wait till the last second. Get it now."
Yeah, I mean, I try to, yeah, that's a good one. There are some people that I look at their brands and I'm like, you actual piece of shit. Like there's like some people who advertise and they're like, we've sold out 12 times. We'll likely sell out in the next 12 hours, blah, 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 blah.
Gotcha.
And there's like,
Super urgency.
and it's not like small brands.
Yeah.
Like these are like big brands that do this. And I'm like, I understand the urgency side of it. I know that that's all a lie.
Yeah.
And it feels screwed up to do that. Like you are genuinely tricking someone, purely based on emotion in order to just impulse purchase.
Well, and we know that those brands are crumbling because urgency is terrible and you should never have any of it.
Yeah, actually doing really freaking well. But it's just sad. It's just sad for me to see that kind of thing. Like I want to run good offers and I want to bring value to people. I don't want to trick people into thinking it's going to sell out,
Right.
in the next, you know, 10 days, which just like isn't true.
Yeah,
You know,
you could accurately say like, um the sale ends and prices increase in 10 days, which is
yeah,
an
last
honest
value scenario, well, sure, because I will increase prices back up.
right.
And the offers will change. But for me to claim that it's sold out 5 times this year and get it while supplies last, like is that really the game you want to play? You
Inauthentic.
know, it's really inauthentic. And I think that it long term really sours the taste.
You could like you could even work there's so much gray area there. Like you could say while supplies last or limited supplies. And like that's true. There's a finite number of gramophones out there.
Yeah.
That's accurate to say.
Yeah.
Limited supply, right? But, to say like we have sold out X number of times, right? Is
Yeah.
you could also say we're only selling a certain number of like we're only putting the sale on a certain number of products, right? Like first first 1,000 orders gets the sale. And like that's way more like you're not getting 1,000 orders of Black Friday, but other people don't know how big your business is. So they might think, oh, I might be in the first 1,000 people, right? That's an honest sale that you can run that is creates a sense of urgency.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of honest ways
So
that you can go about it.
absolutely, absolutely. And so that's just what I'm working on and looking at other ads that I've won in the past for Black Friday. A lot of them are very simple,
Yeah.
thankfully. It's just like banner ad of your offer over your current winning ads or some new ones that are
Yeah.
very simple. And so that's what I'm putting together. Shockingly, I still seem to be like close to on schedule.
Oh,
So my goal is to launch this Q4 stuff by the 10th or the 12th.
gotcha.
And so if I'm doing good by like Wednesday-ish, then pretty close to on schedule.
Well, today's the 10th, right? So
Yeah,
today or Wednesday?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Today between today and Wednesday, and I think I can at least launch um my gramophone offer
Mhm.
and some gramophone ads by Tuesday or Wednesday. I think I can launch some by tomorrow or the next day. And so that'll at least get my leg in, and then I can start to see some data coming in, start tweaking stuff, start adding stuff, right? Because I I don't want to put out I don't want to create 50 ads and then realize like I had a bad angle for all of them. I'd rather create like 10 ones that I think are solid and just put those out there and see how they do, see what does better. And then in 2 or 3 days, create more of those.
Right, right,
Right. Instead of just like cranking, and then delaying this launch date. Right.
right.
And so that's part of what I'm working on this week. And I also went through like the Q4 materials and coursework that
Right.
the media buying agency I'm taking courses from has.
Cool. Is there any
And
good stuff in there that has updated your perspective on Q4?
yeah, yeah, they so part of the reason I'm not running the sale on the single is because they have a little like ROAS calculator,
Mhm.
and they talk about how to use it for Black Friday specifically, like what your base margin has to be,
Mm.
especially for like a lower ticket item. And so they talk about that and they're like, if you're already running at like a 65% margin, like do not decrease the price of your single product. Like run other stuff in order to generate sales.
Interesting.
Cause
Okay.
and they were also like, when you decrease the price of this product, your CPA may go up, right? Your cost per acquisition, sorry, may go down, right? Your ROAS may go up,
Right.
right? And so you may do better, but incrementally if you try to scale up ad spend, you actually might lose out on the whole.
Because you're
Because if
actually
you're
yeah,
running
yeah.
like barely at break even at like $1,000 a day, but at $500 a day, you're like 2x break even, right? You'll make way more money, even though you're flowing twice as much cash through.
Right.
You're gonna make profit way more money by scaling down a little bit. So they talked about that and talked about how like calculating it, what margins you need to look for. And that's part of what inspired me to say, I'm not going to discount the single,
Right.
but I'm going to add that value pack with the booklets onto every single one so that there's still value. Even if you just want a single, you're
Right.
still getting that $36 of free value.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's a pretty good offer.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's structured pretty well. I had AI help me write up the booklets because I'm not creative enough for all of it.
Yeah.
But they're long and they're solid.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a good offer, and I've taken the images on the current baseline site, and I've just I've added little things just to include, like, free gift included or whatever, right?
Right.
And I also added I realized, looking at the baseline site, coming from the advertisements, it should be clear that it comes with 96 songs and stories.
Mhm.
And on the website, it says it in several spots, but it doesn't actually effectively say above the fold. And that I didn't realize.
Gotcha.
And so I added on the actual product images, I added just a little badge on the box side that says like 96 classics plus 8 DIY records, something like that.
That's it.
Just something to clear that up. Because I was looking at that, and a lot of what I realized through the rebranding process, through making advertisements, through targeting these advertisers is like clear over clever. Like, I thought I was being clear. I
Right.
really, really did. But like, you have to be like so clear.
Yeah.
Like, I showed Sammy the package, and I was like, look, it's like the mastery set. And she was like, what's mastery set? And I was like, and then I had to run through, like, you tell me, because like I need you to tell me what you think it is, because I need to make sure this makes sense. And like, we went through it all, and it still didn't quite like it made sense to her, but like, some of the wording was a little bit confusing to her. And then after we talked about it, she was like, why don't you just call it the fun package? I was like, fuck. I was like in my head, I was like, oh my God, this is like so bare bones.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, fun package. I'm like, mastery sets. Like, you're mastering something, and you like have it like in my mind, right? It's like, yeah, right. But like, to anyone else, it's like fun,
Dumb it down. Yeah.
right? It's like fun package. Have you ever? And I was like, ah,
When you were at like third grade, did they ever do the peanut butter jelly instruction scientific method thing with you guys?
I think so.
In third grade is when that's the first year that you do science fair
Hmm.
projects in my elementary school. And so they teach you the scientific method because that's the method that you're going to follow in your science fair project, right? So they
Yeah.
teach you the method and then you do a project with it, right? And the very first time I learned the scientific method, it was real straightforward. The teacher was at the front and they put out a jar of peanut butter, a jar of jelly, a loaf of bread in a bag with a twist tie, and a plate, and then a knife and a spoon. And they said, everyone's going to write instructions on how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and then I'm going to make you guys your sandwich. And then everyone was like, okay. So everyone writes it out. You have like almost the whole class period to do it. You got a ton of time. Everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, this is easy. Like, okay, like put the peanut butter on the bread, right?
Yeah.
Put the two breads together, right? And the teacher took the first page and they were like, okay, step one, put the peanut butter on the bread. And so there's a closed, twist tied loaf of bread and a closed jar of peanut butter. And they just pick up the jar of peanut butter and they put it on the loaf. And I was like, oh, I understand where this is going. I get why we had all class period to write this. And like, they kept going and it was super funny. It was like, spread the peanut butter on the, like, one of them got all the way down to where it was like, spread the peanut butter on the bread. And like, the dude like scooped it with his hand and like put it on the whole loaf. Like, he ruined everything because it like the instructions weren't clear enough. And it really made me like, I think it helped me in teaching other people, but also it helped me learn my like bottom up processing type of
Mhm.
thing where it's like be ultra super hyper specific because what's obvious to you is going to be completely unknown to other people. And I think that that is probably a transferable lesson to the website where it's like make everything like super duper duper clear, even though like you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I can see there's a bunch of discs and I can see there's a gramophone. Some people that's still not like you and I have seen it so many times that we're familiar with it, but if it's someone's first time, it might still be unclear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, stuff like that, it's like still a learning process for me, because it's you know, it's little stuff like that that can make the difference, though. And
Yeah.
actually, something that I had AI do, which was really helpful to me, is after Sammy was like, "This is all confusing," and I was like, "How is this confusing?" I was like, "Oh my
Dude,
God."
Sammy is a fucking great benchmark for if something is too confusing though.
Yeah,
Genuine.
she struggles with
Genuine.
the words and stuff like that, like with the
Yep.
English too.
Yep.
Like,
She's a great
it was so funny. She was like, "I don't know what mastery means," and I was like, "Got it," or it was something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And or she was like, 10 games to create lasting memories. I had like a line like that, and she was like, "Are there games included?" And I was like, No, the games are you play the games with the gramophone." And she was like, then like, why don't you like say something like that?" And I was like, Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a lot of
get where
words.
this can be confusing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so actually something I did with AI that was super helpful was I was like, screenshotted everything,
Yeah.
put it in it, and I was like, pretend that you are a 65-year-old grandmother that is not familiar with the site or product whatsoever, has never seen it before, um, is kind of mindlessly scrolling through, does just kind of looking around. What are the heavy hitter points that you see, and what is your understanding of what this product is and what's included? And that was really helpful because it actually picked up on similar things.
Yeah.
Um, it was like mastery set. What's that?
Yeah.
Um, it was confused by like some of like I had like 12 crossed out and then free on each of the booklets,
Yeah.
and both Sammy and ChatGPT and Claude AI all
Get outta
said
here.
that that was confusing.
What?
Yeah,
They're crossing out the price and putting free.
yeah, yeah. So that is just put free on it and have 36 crossed out at the top and say free.
Oh, okay. Because they're gonna. I understand. They're gonna try to add up the 12s. 3 12s.
Yeah, I guess so, something like that. Alright. So, like, to me, like, that stuff is,
Yeah.
I just worked through it super quick.
It's a burden being at average intelligence.
But
It's so funny, dude.
it
I'm
was
glad that you've got her to help.
yeah.
Something I wish that other websites did.
Tammy's a good girl, I just don't understand how she thinks sometimes.
I wish people would put the frequently asked questions button like really prominently displayed at the top, because you don't want to, in all your images, you don't want to say like 36 free games and then people are like, "Oh cool, what's a game?" And then the next picture is like, "What is a game?" And it's just a wall of text.
Yeah.
But like if you go to the FAQs, you're looking for a wall of text and then you can put like the deep descriptions in there.
Yeah,
Or like an example of one of the games or something like that in there, you know?
yeah. And so working through all that stuff, in addition to I'm going to be watching some Q4 specific products, with their associated ads, but that's gonna be after I launch the Black Friday promo stuff for the gramophone so I can start to collect data in on what worked for promotional ads too and
Yeah.
structure and style and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, the gramophone is still my priority for sure.
Gotcha.
Because that's the product that I have proof of, like
Right,
it
right.
does work. And so that those are the things that I am shooting for.
Cool.
But what is your business update for us this week?
As always, I had another open house. This is number 23 in a row. This one was interesting. It was a two-story house, which you don't see super often in Florida, in Vieira. Um, Vieira is one of the number one master plan communities in the country. So that means the city works with the government to map everything out in intricate detail before they start building. And then the government actually helps fund the developers to do the building. And then when you buy your home, sometimes you have to pay a CDD tax or a community development distribution tax or something like that. You basically it's the city paying the government back, the federal government,
Mm.
for helping develop the community, right? Um, some houses have that CDD tax, some don't. Eventually, you pay that tax off and you don't have it anymore. Um, I digress. That's the Vieira community for context. But this was a cool house. I thought it was really interesting because it was listed in February initially at $675,000.
Yeah.
It's since come down to now 735. So it's a
Mhm.
$30,000 price drop over 10 months. Or sorry, 8 months. Which is a pretty hefty drop. But what's interesting is that all the other houses in that neighborhood, the highest sale is 705.
Wow.
Everything else is in the sixes. And so this is like the only house that's listed way high up there, right? And so I looked at that house that sold at 705. It's the identical floor plan to this one. It doesn't have solar panels, but it does have like a Tesla charger in the garage and a bigger backyard and more land. So I think they probably like pretty close to even out, right? Um, but it's interesting. They listed it in August and then it sold in September. So it sold in like a month, meaning that it went under contract pretty quickly. So it was probably priced pretty aggressively, or at least appropriately. They listed it at 700 and then it sold for 705. So it actually sold for over what it was went under contract for, which
Mm.
is also rare. That tells me that it definitely was listed competitively, right? So let's say competitive is like 20,000 under asking, right? That means that house probably would have sold for like 725. So then ours here listed at 735 is like 10K over. That seems a bit more reasonable, right? If you want to sit on the market for longer. Um, I thought it was a really interesting example of listing your house too high and then waiting to sell it and then having to come down in price. Cause like now, if the owners had just decided to go for like 735 to begin with, they would have sold it quickly.
Mm.
But they started at 765, this like way super high number, crazy high. And they've had to come down. Now they have a perceived loss of like 30 grand. Um, and everyone that came through the open house was like listed too high, listed too high. It's funny. One of the people who came through is a coworker of mine from Northrop. And they were like, "Oh, it's so funny. I totally forgot that you do this." And I'm like, "This is all I do outside of Northrop. Actually, it's
Yeah.
the only other thing that I do, apart from going to Universal and racing, I guess." But the open house went well. Nothing notable or super crazy. Most of my work this week was doing the affiliate partnerships again. I have pretty much all of the partnerships I need locked in. So I have now started to organize them into the actual sheet that I'm going to give to people.
Cool.
I had 2 meetings. I had an offer from these people, but they wanted to meet in person before like formally extending it. Um, so in the early part of this week, I crushed like 15 phone calls in one day. And that was awesome because most of the people pick up the phone and I got to lock in all those offers. I had a meeting with a locksmith on earlier this week, Tuesday maybe. They're a locksmith and they own a safe company.
Mhm.
So they give us a tour of their showroom with all the different like gun safes and paper safes and stuff that they have. And then they offered to bring those safes to all of my listings that I have like furniture staging at. So in addition to staging it with furniture, I can also stage it with this safe. And then my customers will get a discount on those safes and 10% off all locksmithing services. So it's like, hey, like you just bought a new home. Congrats. You should change the locks. I have a locksmith that can do that for you. So that was really great. They were nice people. So now I'm partnered with them. And then I fucking crushed a meeting with a garage door company. I had already talked to the safe guy and he was like, "Come to the warehouse so I can show you my product in person." The offer was already made. This garage door company was like, "We'd be interested in talking to you. Pull up." And I was like, "Okay." So I did. And when I got there, I spoke with the general manager, who is the nephew of the guy who owns the whole business. They have 8 locations on the east coast of Florida.
Cool.
And the way that they operate is really interesting. They have trucks loitering like police patrol cars. And every time they get a phone call, the person who's closest to that house picks up that call. So usually they can get everything done within the same day. That's
Whoa.
repairs, that's whole new garage doors, that's quotes, that's inspections, that's everything. Same day. Super cool. They use premium quality products too, so they're a little bit more expensive than their competition, but you pay for what you get. Um, and the guy was really nice. He was like, what can I do for you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm looking to partner with these brands. I'd like to have a contractor for everyone. You guys have 2,500 5-star Google reviews. You guys are great." And he was like, "That's 2,500 at this location alone." And I was like, "Jesus," because the other garage door companies I was looking at have like maybe 100, 200 reviews. The highest I'd seen other than that is 500. This has 2,500 at each location. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm impressed with you guys. So I'm just here to, whatever offer you would like to pitch to my clients, like, I'll forward on to them." And he was like, "Cool, yeah, we can do like, we offer free estimates on everything." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good. Free estimates. Sweet." And then I just kind of like waited for a second. He was like, "We could also do free inspections." And I was like, "That's awesome. I love to have my sellers do inspections before even listing their house so that there's no surprises. And then, of course, all my buyers I have do inspections as well. Does that come with a quote?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Sweet." And I just waited again. And this was a sales tactic that I had learned about a while ago, but I don't get to use it very often. But it's just like, just be comfortable with silence. Just wait, and then they'll talk themselves into it. And so then he was like, "We can do like whatever you need, man. Like, whatever you need. We could do a discount on like, all our services and all our products. Like if you want to buy a garage door." And I was like, "Cool. What kind of discounts are you thinking about?" He was like, "Buy me 5% on everything." And I was like, "Awesome, dude. That's great." And then he was like, "We could do more too. We could do 10%." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Should I write down like 5 to 10 or like 5 or 10? Which would you rather do?" And he was like, "Well, it depends on the package. Like if some people get one thing versus the other thing, we might do 5 or we might do 10." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I can put the range down. I'll do 5 to 10." He's like, "Just do like 5 to 20. Like let's not limit ourselves to 10. Like let's just open it up to like 5 to 20." And I was like, "Sounds good." And so like we had a really great conversation.
Yeah. You
And
went from free estimates to free estimates, free inspections, and 5 to 20% off.
yeah. So it was fun. I had a great time. He's a really nice guy. He seems reliable and dependable, and they want to build an app. And I know someone who builds apps, Josh. So we swapped contact info, and I gave him Josh's contact info. Hopefully that actually ends up in a gig for Josh, because I think he already has the system that they need designed. He just has to build their app.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that was a really good meeting. He gave me like paper materials and magnets and stuff to bring to open houses and stuff as well. So where everything sits with these companies right now, I started building out the sheet. I decided that for all my current clients, I'm gonna make an excuse to see them in person, and then I'm gonna have these sheets with the services and
Oh,
the
awesome.
discounts printed on like fancy paper, like the I don't know,
Cardstock.
not quite. Is it cardstock?
That's
It's like
like the old
gloss.
paper.
No, they not. I want it to be on like gloss paper, like a
Yeah.
postcard kind of. Um, but this is an 8.5 by 11, and there's like 4 sheets, I think, five, six,
Oh, awesome.
five. There's 5 sheets of discounts. So I am in between messing with the spacing to try to cut down the number of sheets, or just sending it, because more sheets, more value, more perceived value, at least, right? I don't want to squish the text together too much because I want it to be easy to read. I'm still messing with the layout, but like this is a good example. This is the cleaning service page, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
it's
think that if I've learned anything from the advertising and the website stuff,
yeah,
definitely clear over clever for sure.
yeah,
Make it so clear that it feels like you get dumber reading it.
yeah.
And also the font there, like any font that is red at all should at least be 16 point.
Okay, got it. I think this
I
is
think that's
small.
12 there.
10,
10, yeah. So I would
16.
say, like, but it depends, because the thing about Canva is that when you change sometimes box sizes, sometimes the font number doesn't always change, like, depending on how you
Yeah,
scale it and depending on the template you use. I would say that the mobile detailing font is about as small as I would go.
got it.
D or and, something else that you can do if you need to have the font smaller
Mhm.
is, adding more contrast,
Yeah,
and that can be done in a couple ways. It can be done with color. It can also be just done with a change in font type,
mhm,
or it could be done with, like, bolding that font
mhm.
and then bolding other fonts more, depending on, like, your headline settings, or when you
Yeah,
select text, you select headline, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, like, that'll all change that frame.
yeah.
But I would say,
I think I can punch all these up. I like having the size, and I like all the headers to be big bold,
yeah.
and then I like the subtitles to be small bold, and then these to be no bold and smaller. But I can definitely punch up the size of these to be closer to the size of
I
this.
think if you bumped up, I would try bumping up everything like 20%,
Okay,
and keep your scale the same,
cool.
and really just magnify it. And then it'll probably pull your spacing in a little bit, like on your columns,
Yeah,
right? But you have enough space there. Like the space is good for legibility, but the words themselves also have to be legible at a base level
yeah, they
too.
got to be a bit bigger.
So especially like here,
Yeah,
you can easily bump that up 20%. You still have space in that box. It doesn't feel crowded or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it'll make it easier to get through.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think worst case scenario, if it bumps into more sheets, then it's me delivering more pieces of paper to you, which is more value, right? Right?
yeah,
Has a
and each sheet has like a headline on it, like a main
Yeah,
headline
some of them have
too.
so like for
Yeah.
example, this is home services, and then this one's also home services.
Mm.
But then we get down to here and it's home improvement. And then cleaning services, and then this one has 2 on it, inspections and moving, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But it's laid out well.
yeah.
Another thing that I would say, potentially could make it easier to read, because when
Mhm,
you look at the sheet as a whole,
mhm.
it looks super clean. I love the design and the layout. Font size, can tweak with that.
Yeah.
If you pull in the headlines about like an inch,
Mhm,
you can actually add a little logo of each company, like just
mhm.
from their website.
Yeah.
And that makes it super easy for like people who are scanning. Maybe they're familiar with the local companies around here.
Yeah, yeah.
And so instead of reading each line item, if they're just gonna flip through and look, they'll be like, "Oh, I recognize that company. Oh, I get 20% off," or whatever it is. Like, it can be an immediate, like, positive interaction of like,
Yeah, it's a good
"Oh,
point.
I've know this company," or "I've wanted
I've
to
seen
work
their
with these
truck.
guys," or "I've seen these guys before,"
Yeah.
and they'll be like, "Oh, he works with them, right?" So that adds that, like, it's a very visual, easy way to see the value,
Yeah.
right? Even if you're, because people just scan through shit, and it's so frustrating because, like, I'll put so much time into something like an ad or whatever, where I'm like, people will listen to this, and no one freaking listens to it.
Yeah.
No one listens to it. And like,
Yeah.
if they did and they listened attentively, they'd be like, oh man, this is awesome.
Right.
Right. But like, no one does. And it sucks and it's painful and it hurts.
Right.
But like, if you can add those little logos there, that's a super mindless and easy way of, even if someone's just like flipping,
Yeah.
right? They could be like, oh wait, I recognize this company. And then they're in it.
Right.
Then they're like, oh, what other, oh, right.
Mhm.
And so I think that adding that little logo and just moving that stuff a little bit right,
Yeah.
I think that at that point, like it'll be really nice to look through. It looks great. I think it'll be really easy to see the value. Like, and the perception will be super, super easy.
Yeah.
That's about my 2 cents, I guess. But
Yeah. No, they're good points, and I will incorporate them.
cool.
So at this point, I've got the sheets laid out, the initial layout. I would like to print them on the fancy gloss paper and deliver them in person to my current clients. If it's someone who I'm working with currently, then I'm going to see them anyways. If it's someone who I haven't seen in a while, it's a good reason to get
Mm.
together, right? And then I think I'm going to buy some with the client code blurred out. The discount will be shown, but the code will be blurred out,
Mm.
or something like that. I'm not sure. I might blur out some of the discounts and show some of the like big ones so that people are like, "Oh wow."
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna bring those to open houses, and when people come through open houses, I'll say, "Oh, do you guys have an agent?" They'll say no. I'll say, "Just so you know, I want to give this to you for free. Here's my preferred vendors, whatever. These are people you can trust. And then if you'd like to access the discount for the client codes, all I need is your contact information, and then I'll swap this one out with the client codes, and then you get the discount."
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm gonna start running it, is everything printed, and like hand to hand. And then eventually I would like to have a special section of a website incorporated, but I don't want to wait to roll this out to have the website done, because I can really easily get stuck in analysis paralysis. And one of my notes from my previous
Mm.
podcast is what I want to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to wait to do that. I'm going to start rolling them out. I would like to have, I don't think I'm going to have to order, actually, I don't know if any of this is true, what I'm about to say. So let me rephrase it. I would like to have it printed on that gloss paper. I don't know if I have to order that to be printed by someone else, or if I can run gloss printer paper through my brokerage's printer. It's
Mm.
something that I have to figure out this week. If I can print it at my brokerage, these will be at my next open house this weekend. If I can't, it'll be the one after that.
I know that like Staples, Office Depot, UPS, and FedEx all do a variety of like professional printing,
Yeah.
and I think it's pretty darn affordable, especially now since there's so much printing available online. Like, I think they've had to chop prices in order to remain competitive.
Interesting. Cool.
So maybe even just like a couple quick phone calls of being
Mhm.
like, "Hey, do you print on gloss paper? What is it per sheet?" Just a
Right.
couple quick ones.
Right.
Could get an idea of pricing from them, and then that's something that like, you don't have to wait in the mail for in case you need to print some
Yeah.
quick. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And then the only last detail is there's still a handful of companies that I don't have partnerships with yet, and that's for a handful of reasons. So I'll pull them up one by one. I'm at so first and foremost, I've added a couple. For example, the pool company that I'm partnered with is a pool designer and installer, right?
Mm.
They don't do maintenance. That's awesome. They'll give me free quotes for if a buyer is interested in a home, but they don't know if a pool is going to fit in the backyard. Like the house that I did an open house for this past weekend, it's on a retention pond. It's kind of narrow. My pool guys can get in there and look at the survey and the county records and stuff like that and figure out if they can fit a pool. That's really handy. Not handy for someone who already has a pool and just wants to keep it clean and doesn't want to pay for the
Yeah.
full price anymore. So I split that up into two categories. So I started off with like 38 contractors, and now I'm up to like 46. So there's a few that I've recently edited that I have to go find. There's a couple that I just can't find good people for. So like a landscaping company, for example, right? I just want someone who will like mow the lawn and pull the weeds, right? That's it. Maybe throw some fertilizer down. They don't have to trim trees. They don't have to trim bushes. I just need someone to mow the lawn, right? I have emailed like 35 companies and none of them have replied to me. So for landscaping and these last few companies that I'm doing, I'm going back and I am deep diving to make sure that I have like every company in Brevard on my list. I'm going to email blast them all to go out tomorrow and Tuesday, or sorry, tomorrow is Tuesday. Yeah, normally we record these on Sundays.
Yeah.
Early
Say
this week.
Wednesday. Yeah.
And then if I don't hear back, then I'm going to start calling them and seeing if I can get them on the phone. But the problem is, if I email them and they don't reply to my email, yeah, I can call them to get them on the line, but I don't want to refer someone's business who has an email on their website but doesn't reply to it, because then I'm recommending them to a client and my client might not hear back from them.
Mm.
And I don't want that either. Um, So another example here is a solar panel installer. I have a solar panel cleaning company, but not an installation company. So this is the inverse of the pool situation. Um, and then there's a couple that I'm in talks with. So I'm in talks with a screen enclosure company and a hurricane shutter company right now. I just haven't locked them in yet, but I have the space on these sheets while I wait for them to reply to me.
Yeah.
So this is shaping up pretty nicely. And I think I'll be able to implement it in the next like week or so.
Cool.
I'll probably want to get those last few partnerships locked in before printing actually. So this week, while I reach out to people, I'll probably test like, what does it look like on one single gloss sheet? Can I print it at Blue Marlin, something like that?
Yeah.
Um, that way, once I have the last few partnerships locked in, I can just fucking order like 100 of them.
Something else that I thought of too is if you're gonna hand it, you're gonna hand it to them.
Hmm.
If it's on them to flip it, like I've seen a lot of people like you'll pass them something or like a gift
Yeah.
and they might open it later or whatever or something
Right.
like that, right? Like immediate incentive to open,
Mhm.
I think is really, really good. That's part of the reason why like hooks and headlines are so important for ads.
Yeah.
Is because it's the only people that gets people to stay. It's the only thing that gets people to stay.
Yeah.
Um, Potentially a cover page with all of the logos of all the different companies laid out. That way they don't even have to flip to see something they recognize,
Yeah.
right? And now it's just like up front, right? And it might look a little bit less like clean and refined,
Hmm.
but as long as you can present the value like right up front very clearly,
Yeah.
like that'll also be an incentive for people to like dig through.
I like the idea of a cover page. For presentation, I just had this idea as you were talking, and I think I like it. Um, Let me control A. Oops, not that A. Cover page. Blue Marlin has really nice folders. We have buyer broker agreements in them that we bring to every open house so that if anybody ever wants to put an offer then and there, we can sign the buyer broker agreement and go for it. We're prepared. But they're really nice folders and I like them a lot. So I'm thinking about printing all of these pages. It'll be like 4 pages per person or something like that. And then putting them in that folder with the cover page and then putting like a blue ribbon or bow around the folder or something like that. So it actually looks like a gift.
Mm,
And then I give them that gift and I have them open it in front of me or whatever. I don't really know yet. But I would like to have some type of spiffy presentation that I can do when I give it to them because you can dial it back. Like there are agents right now. I've talked to some of these companies and they're like, yeah, most agents we offer like 5% off. And I'm like, okay, those agents I know are not making this presentation. Those agents are like, oh, you need a new paint? I've got a paint guy that can do that. We'll reach out to him. Right. But I want this to feel premium. And what I learned from Hormozy's event is that a bunch of small items put together provides value, but pitching them in a like professional, tangible, fancy way is what actually makes people excited about it.
yeah.
So I'm gonna think about some type of like fancy presentation style. But that's where I'm at. That's my business update.
Cool. Very cool. You could also do little slot the little plastic sheets, put each page in that,
Page
and then
protector.
have rings
Yeah.
on each of the 3 there. Like, if you're just looking for something that's budget friendly, but
Yeah, yeah.
also is a little bit better than, like, just, like, staple.
Yeah, I have to figure out how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, this is like my thing. This is my gimmick, right? This is what is gonna provide more value to my customers than any other agent. So I want it to feel top notch. I also don't want to go broke doing it. But I mean, if it's $10
You could always
total,
test it, like, 3 or 4 of them and see how people react and see what their experience is,
true.
and then if it's, like, depending on how people get you, like, if it's super, super, like, "Whoa,"
Yeah.
like, you could either take that as, "Okay, I'm just gonna run this base cost-friendly version because people are loving it anyway."
Right.
Or if people need a little bit more incentive to open it, maybe I'll put a little bit more effort into the presentation and headline cover page just to
Right.
get people to start flipping and then see that value, right?
Right.
You can take it a couple different ways, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'll play with it. But I'm excited. I'm glad that the sheet I took like 3 days to figure out the layout of that sheet because I didn't like anything that I was messing with. I didn't like any of it. So I finally got to the spot where I think I'm happy. I don't think I'm gonna change many major things apart from the font size of the logo.
cool.
So yeah,
Cool.
that's it. That's what I got.
Awesome.
What lessons did you learn this week?
What I got 3 3 little lessons. 3 little lessons. But I think the first one I wrote down was people don't know you as well as you know you. And I think that's kind of an obvious one, but something that I realized through this the process of talking with the rebranding person was that I developed a skill for um communicating with people where I could use the frame of you just live your life in a way that I wouldn't prefer really well, right? Because when people just have a different opinion and live their life a different way, then that's cool. What I didn't develop a good frame for at all was people who claim that, who then bring God to into it in a way that like is really like is frankly, in my opinion, quite hurtful and negative to the overall like outcome and health of the conversation. At least in the frame that they were bringing it to. And I hadn't developed I hadn't developed a good way to deal with that because to say you live your life in a way that I don't prefer doesn't really apply in the same sense because their framework is working from the sense of I I'm not telling you to live your life in this way. God is telling you to live your life in this way.
Someone who you also value.
Who I also deeply value. And so that I didn't have a really good framework for. And I think that the at least the best thing that I have so far is having faith in yourself to be able to assess your own life and to make those decisions.
Right.
And I have that frame in many aspects of my life, but not in that one. And so I saw that gap. And so that was a good experience, a good learning experience. And then with that, pair with that, the second bullet I have is don't take others' opinions too much to heart. Right. And so kind of a reiteration of it in more broad sense. Um, but the final lesson I have, despite the idea that I should just give up and quit, which I think is just, I just think is so funny. Um, because in in what world does giving up and I told her, I was like, even if every single thing I do fails until I'm 80 years old and I have nothing to show for it, if every single thing I do fails, I would have still rather have like told this story on a podcast
Right.
and had this story for my kids and grandkids and had this and had all these experiences to at least give some lessons learned or some leg up to the next person that maybe would be able to do it.
Right.
And it's like, and on top of that, like in a selfish way, like I'm not willing to give up on the dreams that I had as a kid and I told myself I was going to go after. And so regardless of whether I succeed or not, that's not really the point. Like these are these are my dreams. And she was like, well, it's like, do you think you'll find happiness in achieving the dreams? And I was like, honestly, I don't know, and maybe not. But I think the pursuit of those dreams is really, really important. And I think that you should be able to find happiness in your life regardless of your position. I feel that strong. I used to not feel that as strongly. It's grown on me, and your perspective on it has helped me with it as well.
What's my perspective?
A lot of the Hormozy side of things
Oh,
of
I-
like, uh, if you can't find happiness now, then then you won't be able to find happiness when you're wealthy or when you have X
Right.
or you already have like you've reiterated a lot to me in a positive way. You have already achieved things that you said would make you happy, right? And so like stuff like that. And so she was, one of the things she said was like, do you think the like these dreams like is your goal like she didn't even ask me whether my goal was. She told me that my goal in pursuing my dreams was to make me happy, and I was like, whoa, like no, like I don't like if I just wanted to be happy, I could probably be a lot happier sitting back, convincing myself that the dreams are worthless, and then drinking my way into submission or just like doing drugs.
If you gas,
I'd probably be pretty happy if I just gaslit the crap out of myself for like a year, right?
yeah.
And it's like, or I could be, right? And I'm too stubborn to do that, which is why I don't think I would be happy doing that. But if I had like a slightly different twist in my mind, I think it would work, right? Um, and so it's like, like the goal was not the happiness out of the outcome. The goal is to achieve the dreams that like very strongly feel like I have a drive to do, and I had a drive from when I was young, and I want to achieve that. And I want to be able to give back to the people around me, and I want to be able to provide, and I want to be able to live a freer life, um, and and achieve the dreams that I want to achieve. Because you could live a free life just by going off the grid and moving to Alaska,
Yeah.
but that's not the life that I feel is like in my gut to like go for. Um,
Have you heard that the Hormozy bit where he talks about the billionaire's yacht, what he named his yacht?
I feel like that sounds familiar, but I forgot.
This guy Hormozy surrounds himself with people more successful than himself
Mhm.
to keep himself motivated and like reframe that like it's the like you're not shit mentality, right?
Yeah.
But this billionaire had like this mega yacht. Alex doesn't own a yacht,
Mhm.
but it was named "Don't Analyze Your Pleasures," and it's just a
Yeah.
really fun way of thinking about like, and like why think about the reason you like something and then like maybe potentially ruin that, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's when people say like, "Oh, like why do you like racing?" It's just people going in circles. I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." But I like it. And there's
Yeah.
why do you like having sex, right? You could say that it's your evolutionary
Yeah.
genetics that are
You could put a
waking
bunch
your
of
natural
chemicals in the
instincts.
brain to it, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
We're all brains in a vat. But I really like the idea of not overanalyzing your pleasures or analyzing them at all because it's like, why question it? But I think what's interesting is that when other people say, "Why do you like racing?" It's just cars going in circles, and you go, "I don't know, I just like it." They go, "Sounds good. I understand." Right? And then you go, "Why do you like football?" And they're like, I don't know, I just like it." And it's you're okay with that, right? But what's interesting is that when people go, "Well, why do you like working?" And then you go, "Well, I enjoy it." They harp on it. They go, "But why?" And they wanna understand it because it's something that they actively dislike, and I think that people usually view you liking working as a slight on the way that they live their lives. And people oftentimes will take your position on something as a critique of the way that they do their thing.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all. And I think that it's uncommon for people to make that critique. Something I've noticed recently is that I don't offer information in conversation to people. I just reply. So if someone wants to know more about what I'm doing, they can ask and then I'll answer. And if it's an answer that they don't like, they're the ones who asked.
Yeah.
And we don't have to talk about it anymore. We can talk about something else. I'm cool with it either way. But I'm not going to start conversations with my opinion and then instigate that like argument, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to answer the questions that people have. And usually, I think that people will share their opinion because they want to have that argument because they want to prove that they're right. And that's a hostile way of conversing. It's a valid way of conversing, right? It makes debates happen. It's just not my preferred way. And I think it's difficult sometimes for people to understand that we're not in combat. I'm answering your questions. And you might not like the answer. And that's
Yeah.
okay. And if you want to have a philosophical debate about why you think that God would prefer you to sit back and relax and why I think God would want me to work more. We can have that ideological debate, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I think is best for me.
Yeah. And if my frame is that God wants me to work more, then by working more, I'm not only doing what I think has the highest probability of me achieving my goals, but I'm also doing simultaneously what God wants me to do.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it was an interesting conversation, and I because at one point in the conversation, um, like I was like, like at one point in the conversation, she was trying to make the claim that like I'm just not doing enough to be a Christian, and I'm not giving enough to God. And I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, it is not easy for me to sit down and read the Bible and then question like the choices I make in my life. It is not easy for me to do this every day, but I do it because I love it and I care about it and I care about God and I want to grow closer. Like that's my personal framework and I value it. And so I do the hard thing.
Mm.
It's like life is hard. When my ad accounts get shut down, and she was like, what's so hard about your life? And I was like, I wake up at well, today I woke up late. But like traditionally,
Abnormal example. Yeah.
honestly, actually one of the things I started doing this week, I started sleeping on the floor again because I was able to sleep better after like 5 days in the bed, my body reset. And so I started sleeping on the floor again. Ironically, I slept on the floor last night. I still overslept. Um, but it's like I wake up at between 9:30 and 10 a.m. regularly, and then I work at home all day, maybe get a coffee outside, and then I go to bed at 4, 5. On Saturday night, I went to bed at 6:30 in the morning,
Mm.
and I slept an hour and a half, and then I went to church.
Right.
It's like life is hard. This shit is hard. Because she was saying, she was like you're just not trying hard enough. I was like, you have no idea how much volume I honestly try to do every single day.
Mhm.
And like there are obviously people out there who are doing more volume than me because the world is so big, right? There's someone out there doing more volume than me. There's someone out there doing more with less, right? Like those things are inherently true. But from my frame, like I am doing everything I possibly can outside of just like being a complete dick and running ads that just like run absolute scarcity and urgency in a false way in order to generate sales. Like that I see as a moral, like you're crossing a moral line there.
God wants you to do that.
God does not want me to do that. Right. Um, and so it's just like it's a really interesting frame. But in the last point I have is to just keep pushing, kind of in parallel to that.
Yeah.
And to just continue working through the things that are challenging, continue to challenge yourself, and continue pushing to the next step because that I see
Mhm.
as the way I get the highest probability of achieving my goals.
Yeah. I think those are good points. I like the one about not letting the opinions of others drag you down, especially because they don't have enough information to make that claim, right? It's in the same vein of someone making a claim that your website isn't working because it's targeted to a recurring group of audiences instead of a cold audience,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
it's like you don't have any data to support it.
I mean, I don't know how many emails I put out there that said the exact criteria we were going to work through, the exact framework that we were working from.
Right.
Like it was very clear. Cold audiences running at this level of spend right now, this level of traffic, this group of people.
Right.
Like it was broken down not only in email but also on recorded Zoom calls.
Right.
So
Well, and it's really easy to flip everything that she was saying where it's like, why do you think that God would want you to sit back and wait for him to take care of things for you?
yeah.
And then what evidence do you have that that happens? Like
Also, does that make strong people?
yeah, like who do
Like,
you idolize? Like what are your goals? And then what have you seen that supports the claim that if you don't take any action that you'll get there?
yeah, yeah.
That's a really easy flip, right? But you know, you're not persecuting them, they're persecuting you, right?
And like even at the base level, like I'd rather take action than not take action, just because I like staying busy
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
base level.
Exactly.
But what do you have for lessons learned this week?
I had to think of it while we were on the podcast because I didn't think about it before then. I thought about it, but I was like, I don't really know what I learned this week, but I think I have something. So I have never been good at consoling people like when they're sad.
Mm,
Um, I think generally it takes a lot for me to feel emotion, and so um, when other people are feeling emotion, I definitely have a hard time like understanding how they are feeling in that moment, and then I also handle it differently. So usually I have the ability to kind of just switch based on what I need to do, right? So like if I'm upset about something and I'm at work and I need to focus, I can turn that off. I can
mm,
focus. But other people struggle with that. So um, what I've started to do is learning how to console people a little bit better uh, through the sales techniques that Hermosi talks about with um, being comfortable with silence and listening more than you talk,
mm.
right? And I was watching a Diary of a CEO podcast, and I realized that he sits in silence for most of his own podcast.
Yeah.
And like every once in a while, when the other person is done, he'll ask a question or he'll say something. But most of the time, he's silent, and it's his guest talking on his own podcast, um, which I found really interesting. But he gets a lot of deep personal connections with the people on his podcast because he does that. He genuinely listens. He doesn't active listen the way that most people do, where you reiterate and restate questions as conversational, constant back and forth. He'll like ask a question, they'll talk for 15 minutes, and then he'll make a quick, like one sentence summary of what they just said, then ask the next question.
Yeah.
And I really like the way that he does that. So I've started to do it myself. And someone passed away in the Kava community this week.
Yeah. That was this week. Yeah.
That was this
Yeah.
week.
Rest in
Uh,
peace.
yeah. I didn't know her very well. I've lost people before, and I understand kind of how that goes. And I also recognize that a lot of people in the coffee community did know her very well. They did spend a lot of time with her.
Yeah.
And some people had plans like to hang out with her like the next day, and then suddenly that spun. And these are people who haven't lost people recently or frequently.
Yeah.
It's a new feeling. And I decided to start using the diary of the CEO tactic to help them through that. Not just, you know, remain complacent, but like try to help these people process that. And so, when I would sit down, I would ask people how they were doing genuinely. And I would have my phone face down and like they would have my full attention. And I would just let them talk. And I would just listen to them. Um, and it came a lot more naturally to me than I think it has done in the past. Because I think in the past I always wanted to be providing information or making people laugh or having conversation because I was uncomfortable with silence.
Mm.
But I think that in conversation, if one person is comfortable with silence, then the other person starts to naturally relax too. And people who are comfortable in silence are closer. That's something that I've noticed.
Mm.
So that's the lesson that I
Yeah.
learned this week.
I like that lesson too.
Yeah. Can't believe I came up with it like on the fly.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I sometimes it can be really fun to listen to other people's perspective too, and just kind of like sit back. It it's a good one. I
Mm.
like it.
Yeah.
But do you want to dial us in?
Yeah. This one, I thought that you might be struggling with um, the rebrand site again. We had spoken a few days ago about it. Um, but
Yeah, when I was like, oh, it's just shit.
yeah, well, last week it was like it's not looking good. We don't know where it's going to go. And then
Yeah.
mid this week it wasn't looking good. And then last night you were like, real bad. So
Yeah.
I thought this might be the case, and I have a really good quote for it. Um, it's a Robert Kiyosaki quote, and it goes, "Those who do not risk failing will ultimately fail."
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind.
Can I
Go
add
through
something to that too?
Of course, of course.
I love that, and something that's continuously been like more and more of a prevalent frame through my work too is the process of failure and just continuing to fail, because the the hurdles are inevitable, and the more you can knock out, the closer you get to your final goal.
Yeah.
Sammy this week said that uh, the the people who make it fail less. And I was like, "No,
The people
no,
who
no, no."
make it fail
Like, the
less.
people who make it big
Oh,
fail less.
no.
And I was
So
like, "No, no, 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 no. They fail more, but they rebound quickly." Think about Musk. It's like
mhm,
he'll take heat shield tiles off. Sometimes he doesn't, and it just blows up. Or like he sends rockets up, and
mhm.
like shit blows up sometimes. Or you send a car out on track with modifications, and it completely just sucks, right? And so,
Qualifying in Brazil.
yeah, yeah. And so it's like, no, those, but like what Red Bull could have done is just said, oh, well, I guess it just sucks, and then given up, right? But
What
they
Lewis Hamilton did.
pivoted. They said, okay, this doesn't work, let's pivot,
That's
right?
what Lewis did with Ferrari. Is they had a bad setup, they didn't change anything,
Yeah.
and then he DNF'd.
And
Alex,
so
go ahead.
i- it's just, I love that. I love that frame.
Yeah.
I love that failure frame.
Alex Ramosi defines resilience as the rate at which you can change direction when things are going poorly.
Mhm.
So when he lost his mom, he, mourned her and went into a depression
Yeah.
and then kicked off the bottom of the pool and came right back like a few days later. And that's how he defines resiliency is like how steep is that V?
Yeah.
And Max Verstappen showed that very well this weekend with, fixing the car and then bouncing back right away.
Yeah.
Elon Musk does the same thing with his rockets not working. Um, and so yeah, it's like there are different ways to fail, but ultimately I think that if you don't risk failure at all, then I don't think that you are going to be able to get to where you need to be going. So admits this failure, right? Like don't get down or let other people influence you with their
Yeah.
opinions, right?
Yeah. The failure didn't bother me as much as the conversation afterwards.
The judgment alongside it. Yeah.
Yeah, the judgment from that frame
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I've let it go at this point, and learned my lessons from it.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's all I got.
awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Vision 79 podcast, episode 85 now, right? Yeah, quite a few. So enjoy your week. Be safe, stay well, and we will see you next time.